Will, you took me to Disneyland the other week. I visited you in California.
Yep.
And brought you back here to Colorado. I do have something difficult to tell you, potentially.
What's that?
I think the shirt I got a woman's shirt.
Really? Your Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway?
Because I really like that ride. I really wanted to commemorate that. But how it is, and they don't have like try-on rooms there, of course. So how it goes, and I'm surprised neither of you noticed. Perhaps you were just too kind to make fun of me this time. How the shirt works is it's like higher in the back, like it lifts above my ass than the front. And I imagine the reason for that is that if I had breasts, it would lift up the front as if to match the back. So I think I got a woman's shirt.
Man, that sucks because that was a cool looking shirt.
It's a cool looking shirt. I mean, I'll keep it as a sleep shirt. Maybe. I mean,
how do you there's nothing on like the back tag that says.
I peeked at it because I was curious, and it just had the size on it and no other direct indicator. It is a neat shirt. I mean, did either of you notice when I was wearing around that one day?
No, Al.
No, but I think the solution to this isn't to replace the shirt. It's just to get breasts.
Rev up those fryers and fill those champagne glasses to the tippy top. It's West Coast Toast and Roast with Tommy, Will, and Dav. Welcome back to West Coast Toast and Roast. I have a woman's t-shirt in my collection. I'm Tommy.
I bought Tommy a keychain of a woman who happens to be Chun-Li, and I'm Will.
There's also a woman in my collection. That's what we're talking about, right?
I had you guys over in person because we're all here in Colorado again. So
Yay.
It's first time in about a year. And open up my laptop. Nothing shocking was on the desktop.
Yeah, nothing shocking.
For the folks at home, it's just my Anna Kendrick wallpaper.
For the folks at home, he's lying.
He is lying about that.
No, I just have a lovely photo shoot of Anna Kendrick in bright pink as my wallpaper. It was slightly embarrassing to open up my laptop to record and unveil.
Okay, I will say it is that picture, but the way you describe it makes it seem like you're lying and trying to come up with something. You're like,
come on.
Bright pink picture of Anna Kendrick laying...
No, it is completely on brand for me to have an Anna Kendrick wallpaper.
No, it is, but just the way you described it, you were like, yeah, it's just a pink picture of Anna Kendrick.
I mean, is it not pink?
No, it is. It just sounds like the way you described it sounds like the way an I Think You Should Leave character would describe their wallpaper after getting caught.
We don't appreciate that there's no billboards in Colorado enough, I feel, and how every fifth billboard in California, and really everywhere, looks like an I Think You Should Leave sketch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Man, there's always the aggressive lawyer.
Yeah.
And he's like, Hingle McCringleberry, you need an aggressive lawyer.
Hingle McCringleberry?
Yeah.
From
Key and Peele. That's my go-to. To variousness. T-King for short. I'm a bad mamma jamma and an awful sport. Smoochie Wallace, you can call me Ty Royal. Wrapping up raps like aluminum foil. McCringleberry, I'm very scary. If I got the ball, you best be wary. La Carpatron Duke Marriott. I love the ball so much I wanna marry it. No, alright, enough of that. Man, we saw a lot of movies recently together.
It's true.
Should we start with the one that sucked?
Yeah, well, I think first we should give the context that because we saw 3 movies together, instead of our usual first round, we're just going to talk about the 3 movies we saw because our opinions are roughly the same. I think we should do them in order that we saw them.
Okay, so that's Spider-Verse first.
Yes. Across the Spider-Verse. And
the Spideyverse, all them Spidey mans and womans.
Yeah. Genuinely, no complaints. I think it's a perfect movie, both visually and story-wise. I was thrilled every second of it. Someone pointed out that, there are scenes in this movie that would be the best scene in any other movie, but, there's multiple of those scenes. Just one scene randomly from this movie would be the best scene in another movie, and there's, all the scenes are like that.
That's
true. Yeah, no, it's fantastic movie. I mean, I had very high expectations for it because Into the Spider-Verse is one of my favorite movies ever, and this was just as good, if not a little bit better than that. So it's very pleasant to see.
You were tempted to call it your favorite film of all time, I think.
It was a toss-up between that and Train to Busan, of course, but Train to Busan still edges out because the one little thing that I do have about Across the Spider-Verse is that it just kind of ends where it does. So
I mean, but that's because there's going to be a sequel.
I think they picked a good spot to call it.
Yeah.
Man, gosh, it's hard to decide where to begin. Just another piece of low-effort cape shit from the Marvel machine. No, I'm joking, of course.
No, I think it's funny how it was so well reviewed on Letterboxd, it reached number 1 of the Narrative 250, and Letterboxd was so upset that a Marvel movie was at the top. They're like, we're changing our rating system.
Golly. They should have just waited. Everything Everywhere All at Once kind of had the same deal, but it's because the people who were excited to see it are going to see it. Yeah, of course it's going to have that bit of inflation. I mean, if they're that worried about it, it should be a film isn't applicable until home release or whatever. I don't know.
I'd agree. Yeah. At least wait 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Man, I do think everyone's losing their minds over the character dynamics, and I think they're terrific. Full disclosure, both sides. We saw this movie twice. Both times I took an edible first.
But the first time it didn't really work, right?
It definitely hit me harder the second time. But I think both occasions the weed paranoia set in, and I was watching the film almost in a state it would depress me a little to see him film that ambitious. Almost. I'd be like, so where do we go from here, guys? I don't even, I think, the whole... I'm sorry, I don't know why there's so much fucking shit in this movie that I'm just losing my train of thought completely. I think it, something that is so bombastic as Spider-Verse, I think you'd be nervous that it might, overshadow other aspects, but and maybe it was, the Zen state I was in. I was just so perfectly able to tap into the performances this time, I feel. Mm-hmm. It's hard to articulate. It maybe just is how well directed it is, but I thought Hailey Steinfeld as Gwen was just, really selling those monologues, and she has a lot. That Jake Johnson as Peter, who is still just, effortlessly amazing.
Yeah.
Is doing an incredible job.
For what it's worth, I think the performance of the movie goes to Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara.
Oh, he's so good.
And it's insane that the two villains in this movie, Spot and Miguel, are they're both just so insanely good, better than anything we've had in the past few years.
Mm-hmm.
Even Thanos, I would say, is a tier below them because they kind of fucked him up with Endgame.
Film in general has almost seemed to have forgotten how to do villains.
Well, yeah, because in the next movie we're going to talk about, there is no villain.
Mm-hmm. When's the last time there's been a truly I'm sure there's an answer. I would say Pearl is the last truly terrific film villain off the top of my head I can recall. Because no one does movie villains anymore, I feel like.
Yeah, because it's all about it's all about the family trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about the pantyhose!
You didn't like the villain in Shin Kamen Rider?
That whole movie was kind of a headache, honestly. No, and I mean that affectionately. It was a bit of a toothache with a lot of colors and a lot going on.
It was fun.
It was still fun, yeah. And this movie gave us two terrific bad guys. The Spot is so great.
Well, it's cool because he's the same person throughout the whole thing. He's kind of a goofy guy, but then when I won't spoil anything, but when something big happens, he's still the same goofy guy. He's just the guy with this added onto it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel it's with comedic villains, sometimes you can just make them oh, they're a total joke, or like, oh, they're a total joke, and then they get all like broody. I'm glad they didn't do that.
They find a really good balance with him, and I think he's one of the just coolest characters to watch. His fight choreo is always really terrific.
Yeah.
Beg your pardon. Man, yeah. Gosh. And then, then they spill in all the fucking spider... I like Andy Samberg as Ben Reilly a lot. We get 60 Spider-Man in there.
Oh, yeah. And we get Insomniac Spider-Man, voiced by Yuri Lowenthal.
Josh Keaton Spectacular Spider-Man as well.
That had me soy jacking in the middle.
Will, have you watched Spectacular Spider-Man yet?
No, but I've heard that's like the definitive Spider-Man cartoon, right?
It's the same showrunner as Gargoyles.
Okay, yeah, I really loved Gargoyles.
Yeah,
I didn't love the Goliath Chronicles.
No one does.
It's as definitive as it gets, but it ends on a cliffhanger. So.
Yeah,
that stinks.
They screwed him up. I'd say it's like almost the definitive version of all of the villains. I think there's better Venoms.
Isn't the Venom in there Flash Thompson? Or is it still Eddie?
No, it's still Eddie.
No, okay.
It's still Eddie. But it's like probably the best Doc Ock, at least my favorite. Best Electro. Yeah, you should definitely try that show.
Gotcha.
And Josh Keaton is probably one of the best Spider-Men, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. He's in like pretty much every Spider-Man project as somebody. Usually I think he plays Harry.
And I'm guessing that probably Marvel Ultimate Alliance, he's probably some Marvel crossover stuff around that time.
Probably. I'm pretty sure he's in Insomniac Spider-Man as well. I think he's Electro.
That makes sense.
Oh.
He's been Human Torch, I think, once or twice too.
He's very prolific voice actor and superheroes.
My favorite still is Destroy Man in No More Heroes.
Yeah.
Because Dad, you haven't played No More Heroes?
Not yet, no.
So Josh Keaton plays Destroy Man, who is a wannabe superhero who's a giant dickhead. And he's the best, my personal favorite character in that series.
That's great. I gotta beat Killer 7 first, but I like that style, so.
Fair. Now, my controversial opinion, I personally think I might like the first one a little better.
I get it. I understand that. Because the first one, at the very least, is such a tight narrative.
Mm-hmm.
It stands so well on its own that, I understand liking that one more.
And I feel a little like that one was more about Miles' feelings of inadequacy, and that's kind of the purpose of the other Spider people, to show that anyone can be a Spider. Whereas in this one, it feels a little like, here's Ben Reilly, go. Here's Jessica Drew, go, move. Here's Spider-Bite, whereas that tighter cast, I think, appealed to me a little more, but they're all... this movie's been out long enough, everybody's seen it. They're all going to come back in the next one. Which is in a weird spot. I'll see myself out. It's in a weird place, because this was going to be one film originally. One very ambitious film.
Right.
They decided to split it into two parts, Across and Beyond the Spider-Verse, and they said that Beyond would be in March, not even a year after the second one. Then Hailey Steinfeld is I have not even recorded dialogue for Beyond, and we're
not happening.
And we're well, maybe she's confused. Maybe she didn't realize they split it up, and she recorded all her dialogue. Then artists have been coming out and saying there's no fucking way.
Yeah, no fucking way, buddy.
They already had to crunch for this one.
Mm-hmm.
There have been reports come out of kind of not so great working conditions, and this one took 4 full years to make, and I'm sure that they can carry over a lot of what they've done already for Beyond, but not that much.
No.
There's no way it's coming out in March.
There was definitely a bit of a longer thing because of COVID.
Yeah.
But you can animate from home.
That's true, yeah.
But I'm sure people's lives just got overturned.
Yeah.
If we're being sympathetic humans for a moment, it was a weird time for all of us.
Yeah.
Even if you take out COVID, that would bring it down to 2 years, which would make sense with the crunch.
Mm-hmm.
Beyond, I can see being more ambitious than this one even, and that's going to be in the oven for a while. So,
and I don't think we need to say that we are an anti-crunch podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
We think, they should all be compensated properly and
not have to work 11-hour days.
Yeah. And I do wonder if that kind of added to my weird ennui watching it the second time, especially, was just being in that paranoid state where it's we've reached the peak that everybody loves, and people had to suffer for it. Was a weird feeling. And it happens, and I'm not saying this to excuse it, but it is a reality in many spots in many industries. I said spot again, didn't I?
You did.
Son of a...
He's right behind you, Tom.
You threw a bagel at me! I can't wait to... Now that I'm kind of re-ingratiated to Jason Schwartzman with...
Jason Schwartzman's kind of having his, renaissance right now.
And I'm saying that because he's gonna... When the Scott Pilgrim anime comes along, and he's Gideon again...
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be good. He might be my new wallpaper, even though my current wallpaper is also in that cast.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, gosh. Who's our favorite spider people?
Like, in the movie or of all time?
In the movie.
I mean, technically Insomniac Spider-Man then? Because he's probably my favorite.
I like that he's in, like, idle animation almost.
Yeah.
He looks really weird.
Out of the main cast, definitely Miguel.
Yeah, out of the main cast, I'm gonna go with Miles.
I like Gwen, but Peter B is like an Adam slice below.
Yeah, he's great.
Man, the Gwen shit was so amazing. I felt like I was like... I really envy the people who go into a theater and watch Fantasia for the first time, and I felt like watching the Gwen watercolor business in that movie was like the closest you could get.
Oh, yeah.
Especially High, that's really great.
Yeah. We didn't do Trailer Life or Death.
Oh, well, we can do that later.
Okay. We'll do our three
You can, like,
movies.
edit it around.
Yeah, we can. Oh, wait, I can just run!
As long as you don't lose this, because I'm pretty sure, didn't we record the last episode on this one?
No, that was over Craig.
That was over Craig?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
I think I just didn't realize Craig wasn't in the... I'll figure it out. It'll be fine. And, okay... I guess we've spent enough time on... I guess one thing I want to bring up, too, is that what's kind of nice about it is that, like, some people that I think are well-reasoned were saying, like, you know, it's kind of a bummer that so many Spider-Men who are, like, good people from other universes are kind of falling into Miguel's narrative. But, it kind of sucks to know that, oh, my favorite Spider-Man would totally go after Miles.
Well, I think that's completely, like, bullshit, because it wasn't like, you know, when Miguel calms them all, he says, go after, like, we have a red alert, go after Miles. They don't know Miles. So they're obviously thinking, okay, well, there's something wrong, we gotta do it. It's not like he was like, alright guys, Miles is trying to save his dad, stop him. Like, I feel like it's not like a malicious thing where they're, like, all trying to, like, stop him from saving his dad. Most of them don't know, and they're just, like, trying to help.
And I wouldn't say it's, like, bullshit, because I think what the narrative does a really good job of is kind of getting you to buy into Miguel's bullshit a bit.
Yeah.
He's a very charismatic, and, like, the stakes he sets aren't something you'd want to risk. But the second time, I was able to appreciate a lot more how, just at how many points the film is like, but don't get us wrong, Miguel is in the wrong here.
Yeah.
How, like, Peter B kind of has to realize over the course and turn over. And how I think the third film may be a lot of convincing the Spider-Man, like, well, maybe we shouldn't be killing people's dad, you know? Like, I don't know if I'm making sense there. But I thought that was just, a very interesting moral quandary it strikes on. Especially considering that, Miguel makes it seem as though a universe will instantly collapse, but that's abundantly not the case when we look into the universe Miles winds up in, that his spider comes from. It didn't, like, it's in bad shape without a Spider-Man, but it didn't fucking collapse. That seemed to be the spot. And it just seemed to be a convenient place for Miguel to base his conjecture on.
But, I mean, I don't think Miguel's gonna be the, like, final villain. I'm pretty sure Spot's gonna somehow turn out to be the final big villain for, like, the third act.
I kind of buy Will's theory, actually. Will.
Oh, yeah. So my theory is that, and again, this is, I'm not sure how I'd feel about this. I'd have to see how it works. What I think is going to happen is I think Miles is going to stop the Spot from killing his dad, and there's going to be, like, that wave of calm, and then Miguel is going to, like, come from behind and kill him and be like, we have to keep the canon.
I guess I could see that.
Listen, we saw those teeth with the vulture. He's got to use them.
Yeah. It's a
Chekov's
Chekov's gun.
Chekov's teeth.
I guess. It's like, I don't know. I feel like already people are kind of salty about what they've done to their precious $20.99, and that might just be like...
No one has cared about $20.99 before this.
He was in the games, I think there were some fans for him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I've noticed people mad about Ben Reilly.
He is kind of a joke.
Man.
So now should we move on to an animated film that's not so good?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Elemental is just as bad as it looked.
It's like a joke. It's like when the Simpsons are like, let's see the new Pixar film about if fire had emotions.
Yeah, and Pixar's like a bit in like a weird spot. But like Elemental, it just was like I can accept a bad movie that's like kind of outrageous that I still have fun watching it. I didn't enjoy watching Elemental.
No.
It was just like, it was boring, it was predictable. The characters weren't that unique. Like, they were just kind of there. And also, like, it's pretty obvious, a metaphor for, the immigrant story, but it does not work as a metaphor for the immigrant story. Because, like...
What it kind of... Do you mind if I...
Yeah, go ahead.
Now, I do not echo this man's politics, beat for beat, disclaimer. But Hot Diggity Demon made a video essay about Zootopia. And he feels it's a false equivalency to apply, like, anything to race that goes beyond appearance and culture. Because it's like, of course a rabbit should be afraid of a fox. Because a fox has natural instinct to hurt a rabbit. And that applies to Elemental a bit as well, where it's like, yes, of course a fire person should be afraid to make full contact with a water person.
Apparently not.
We'll get to that. And this is my way of saying there is not this... You're an idiot if you think the same inherent danger is in people of other races and cultures.
Yeah.
Am I clear about that? Like,
yeah.
I want to make sure I'm very clear before I delve into race. Which is why it's a false equivalency, and it's arguably not good for the argument.
Yeah, it's kind of on the side of the racists.
Now, it does show, well, fire and water can touch.
Yeah, there's
and it makes the audience go, okay.
Wait, they never tried that before.
in the ostensible universal history of fire and water coexisting, none of them have ever touched.
The earth and the air people, they're just like kind of in the background. There's no, outside of like...
Arguably an earth character was the main character.
Claude.
God, that was like... So, for those of you at home that don't know, Pixar, like, put an Instagram reel where it's like, there's this, like, kid who shows up at the beginning and the end of the movie. He's, like, this little earth dude, and his name is Claude. And they, like, put the clip of, like, Claude coming on, and the caption was, like, the audience when Claude comes on. It's, like, a roaring applause.
The audience goes wild. It's obviously fake.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the cringier, like, marketing tactics, possibly of the decade.
I think this is maybe the most pathetic year in film I've ever experienced. I just want to... Like, I look at Pixar handling Elemental, case in point, and I look at WB handling The Flash, and I'm just wondering how we got here.
Yeah. Bad, bureaucratic decisions, basically. That's kind of how you can sum it up.
To be clear, we're not reviewing The Flash because we're not supporting that fucking thing in theaters.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? I have the positives about Elemental, and they can fit on my thumb. And I wrote it down. And I said, it's pretty sometimes.
Yeah, the visuals are nice. Like, I feel like, but I do feel like that's kind of the baseline for, like, every
when it's
animated
Pixar,
movie.
it's like, of course it is.
Yeah, I feel like you can't, like, unless it's, like, Spider-Verse beautiful, I feel like looking good should be, like, the bare minimum.
There's shots and settings I aesthetically really loved. Like, I really liked the part where Ember is going under, like, a train in the Water City. The water falls around her. But that also happens for no reason in the film.
Yeah.
They just cut to it so they could put it in the trailer, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the visuals are okay, but, I'd even say that Incredibles 2 looked better than this movie, and that came out, like, 5 years ago.
I can't remember, like, a significant shot from Incredibles 2.
Incredibles 2 had some really great visuals, I think.
I'll take your word for it, because I'm not watching that fucking movie again.
Yeah.
The whole Elastigirl sequence, you didn't think that looked good?
Yeah, okay, Elastigirl's always good.
That was really just a great sequence. But, like, that's, a 5-year-old movie, and I think that had more, like, opportunity to be visually more striking than this, because this is such a, like, the most bare-bones, simple designs on the characters and the city and everything that you can really only do so much with it. And, like, the particle effects are nice, but kids aren't really, like, going in giving a shit about, like, particle effects. And that brings up another issue with this, which is, like, the whole, like, allegory for being, like, an immigrant story is that maybe this should have just been an immigrant story instead of
like a metaphor.
Like, because from what I recall, I think it's the director who's kind of like telling his immigrant story. I think
his family came from Korea.
Yeah, from Korea, and I would have been more interested in just seeing like an animated feature film about Korean immigrants than whatever they were trying to do here, because I think the reason they do this is because they're afraid kids don't want to see an actual like human immigrant story. But if you're trying to get the point across about like racism, you're only going to do that if you actually show the real racism that people actually go through, because kids aren't going to understand that metaphor of fire and water people. They're going to think, oh, pretty fire and water people, and that's it.
Water people walk into their shop and kind of act like jerks once or twice.
Yeah.
And the fire dad goes, water. and to be fair, maybe Peter's son, who this is at least somewhat autobiographical of, wanted to show that he fell in love with someone of a different race. If I were Peter Son's partner, I'd be insulted if I were represented by Wade.
Yeah.
Who is insufferable in this film.
I mean, I don't think there's like even in lower tier Pixar movies, I can like pick out a character and describe them. I don't think I can describe a single character in this movie. Like, they're just cardboard cutouts.
It kind of, in Finding Nemo, in the early version of Finding Nemo, the original cut of Finding Nemo was that the Barracuda attack would be cut up and interspersed throughout the film. But people were like, I fucking can't with Marlin. He's so anxious. He's so overbearing. Like, I can't even stand him. So what they did was they put the whole flashback together and front-loaded it, so you instantly understood why the stakes. He's so like upset and like trepidatious all the time, and that's the only reason people seem to click with him. Wade has like nothing in way of that.
Yeah, Wade he cries a lot for no reason.
And something about I don't even like. It's not like this for me to like have this reaction, but something about just the extremity of like how saccharine he was just like boiled my piss.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it's fine to have like less developed characters if you have a really developed story, but like I mentioned, there's no villain in this story. That the story is just like the firehouse gets flooded and she has to fix it, and she finds Wade and they fall in love. And that's you don't have to see the movie anymore.
Don't forget that this has something to do with her needing to take over the shop. Which has something to do with her wanting to follow her dream. And here's the thing about Ember, too, is that the film is like, Ember doesn't want to take over the shop. What does Ember want? I don't fucking know.
It would have been nicer to like know what exactly she saw in Wade specifically.
Yeah, it does. It just seems like, they're like, okay, yep, boy and girl, they're gonna
bang. Yeah, like from the beginning, he's just like works against her in every single way, and is just a total pushover crybaby. And I don't understand like at what point she falls for him.
And I can almost appreciate how casually they go about Wade just being like, "Do you want to go out?" You don't always see that in the kids' movie. Just like, "Do you want to go out on a date?" Like, okay, but I also agree. It's like, but why though?
Yeah,
man. Well, that probably about covers Claudzilla.
Yeah. And the third movie we all saw together was Wes Anderson's Asteroid City.
Probably my favorite movie of the year so far.
It's up there for me. It was pretty good.
I liked it a lot. Man. And this is another where it's the Wes Anderson-ass Wes Anderson movie. If you like him, you'll like it. If you don't, you might not. I do think it, takes itself very seriously in some of its layers, but I kind of really appreciated that artistic aspect of it. I think this is, it's a Wes Anderson-esque cast where it's, a lot of his guys, but I'd say, the pinch hitters he brought in are some of the best. You've got, Maya Hawke, you've got Sophie Lillis, you've got,
Jason Schwartzman.
Yeah, but he's a usual. He's in a few of them though.
No, sorry. I thought you were talking about the usuals.
No. I mean, he has his usuals who are always terrific, and then he peppers in an unusual Bryan Cranston, who I don't think is.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston isn't usually there. I don't think.
Yeah, he's terrific. He's great. And what I feel, and I guess how I would sum this up, I feel this is kind of a movie about. This is the sensation of feeling like you want to just behave like everything's normal when you know that's not the case. And, Maya Hawke plays a teacher in this, and that was my favorite character because I'm a teacher, and her trying to just teach a fucking lesson when... Should we say what the big thing that happens is?
Well, it's in the trailers.
Right. You see a UFO in the trailers, and all the kids want to talk about is the UFO. And it completely derails everything, and it goes into a song, which is the most accurate depiction of... I was in a classroom when I learned about January 6th happening, and it's all anyone wants. And I'm and as a teacher, you're it's reasonable for you to want to know about this, and I should, arguably it's enriching for you to hear about this, but I get fired if I don't get through this lesson. And that's, I think, largely what this movie is about, are people... with are kind of humdrum-ish lives, just getting completely shaken up and having to kind of just accept that it's their reality now.
Yeah, I'm a bit of the odd one out. No, Tommy and Dav rated this an 8. I only did a 7. I still enjoyed it, but I do think it was very standard Wes Anderson, and there wasn't quite a lot outside of that. I did enjoy that the whole thing kind of took place in a play. And I did enjoy that the alien design itself is probably one of the best alien designs in the past.
It's so good. 20
years, and it's a damn shame that it's. I mean, I know why it's so underused because it's part of the story. But it did seem in Grand Budapest or Fantastic Mr. Fox, there are these really large. Stakes and kind of adventures and machinations and character trailers, and a lot of this movie was just characters talking to each other, which was fine and it was done well. Maybe it's because I'm such a sci-fi dude, I was expecting a little more out of Wes Anderson Does Aliens.
And I like that it's kind of Wes Anderson fusion too, because isn't the alien stop motion?
Yeah, I think it is.
So it's kind of taking that part of his repertoire with all the straight-facing camera, fast delivery stuff, and just kind of fusing them together into an encapsulation of Wes Anderson.
Yeah. Yeah, that alien was really sick.
He's fucking terrific.
Such a great design. This, the story really gelled with me. I really enjoyed that. And I don't normally movies about filmmaking or making plays or whatever, because I feel they can get very, very full of themselves. Mm-hmm. This, I don't think, really quite gets into that. The only, the issues I had with this movie come with, something that always bothers me about Wes Anderson movies, but it's, especially present here, where the characters feel like they don't have any emotion at all.
They do kind of, it seems like they're directed that way sometimes.
I feel like it is intentional, but I feel like it really doesn't work in this setting. Mm-hmm. In Grand Budapest, there are characters with, who kind of have that, but they are intentionally kind of weird. And then there are other characters who are very big and expressive and emotional. But in this one, the only character who I think was consistently smiling was Steve Carell.
Oh yeah.
And everybody else was just kind of doing the whole monotone, weird, which is really because it's it's a play within a movie. These are all supposed to be actors acting. Why are they acting like that?
I do want to say the other big outlier that caught us very off guard was Tom Hanks' little...
I think you should leave that.
And I think the monotone of Wes Anderson is kind of worth it, because he just puts in like a little like...
Just some random moment.
A wake-up call like that. Just like gets you so good.
Was it Adrian Brody in Grand Budapest?
I think so.
When they're like reading the will and he's like, that fucking
Well, there's also the part in Grand Budapest where it's like, I think Willem Dafoe is like stomping on the ice and then
he's like, God damn, you got him.
Like, and speaking, I think you showed us Grand Budapest recently. That's probably my favorite Wes Anderson. I haven't seen all of them yet, but I gave that a perfect 10. I don't see that changing the paradigm. But I was caught by, like, that's, like, a bit, like, aesthetically, that's a big, enchanting, beautiful hotel and mansions. And this is a little shitty Arizona Dust Bowl. And there were still parts just as hypnotic aesthetically. Like, and this is not a statement about Wes Anderson, it is a statement about me. Autism Brain really liked the little martini machine. Just the perfect little clockwork zzz, perfect shit.
Yeah, Wes Anderson's set pieces are always just so great.
Yeah, and cinematography as well.
Yeah. I really, I liked that. I liked this one a lot. I think just my urge and desire to be a little bit different made me place it above Spider-Verse as we all track our films of 2023. I have a few more in the running that I think could be my big top one, but we'll see as the year unfolds.
Wappenheimer.
No, David, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world.
And you know what? Tommy's also looking forward to Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken!
It looks cute, and it comes out this weekend. I don't know.
We'll see.
Alright, well, we didn't do trailer Life or Death. Let's, I guess, circle back around. First trailer I showed you guys was for Bottoms. This is a film directed by Emma Siegelman, who's kind of up and coming. She did another film I'm very fond of called Shiva Baby. And this one features a somewhat similar cast. It has Rachel Sennett and Io Adebri, who are kind of the big millennials you see in everything lately, and I think they're terrific. I really like catching up on what they're up to. This is about two young gay ladies in high school who establish a school fight club under the guise of teaching self-defense, when their true hope is to get in good graces with the cheerleaders and make out with them. And it's like if Not Another Teen Movie had like blood and fight scenes. And I'm very excited, and it gets a full life from me.
So this is more of a personal thing, but I do sometimes find movies about like high schoolers or younger a bit annoying when they're like very, you know, like this movie does seem to portray them very realistically, and that annoys me, and so that's just like a personal thing. I think it definitely could be good. There are certain jokes that made me laugh in the movie. Overall, I mean, I feel,
the trailer.
Yeah, in the trailer.
We did not get an advanced Cannes Festival screening of Bottoms.
Yeah. I guess in terms of life or death, as in if I was like going to see a movie on a weekend, would I choose that one? I would say no, so I guess I lean towards death, but I acknowledge that it could be really good.
David?
I will pretty much say that, I mean, I will also lean towards death, but cautiously, because it does look, I mean, I enjoy what kind of the violence and gore that was there is, you know, piqued my interest a bit. So I'm looking forward to that. Some of the comedy was kind of funny, and it did remind me of, it was the producers of Pitch Perfect, right?
Yes, yeah.
It gave me some Pitch Perfect vibes, but I'm not sure it would ever like really quite reach that level of funny. But I'll say cautiously in the middle, honestly. I don't really, I feel like just from that alone I can't really tell.
Okay.
But it's interesting.
Can I give this, since neither of you are chopping its head off, can I give it ostensible life for now, as far as sound effects go?
How about life support?
Life support. Oh, that's a good one!
Life support.
Beep. Beep.
Dun 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 dun. I finally made it through med school. Somehow I made it through.
Alright.
Sing it, Dev!
How much of our drive from California to Colorado how much we made a collaborative playlist, about what percentage was Weird Al songs?
For like a 20-hour playlist, I think like at least 10%.
And you get mad if one of my 4 Dua Lipa songs came on.
Yeah, there were more than 4.
At least 5.
Yeah.
Quite a few. I do like my Dua Lipa.
And Tommy, we are talking about Weird Al Yankovic. That's like being like, man, I hate water so much.
I love Weird Al, and I do hate water because of Elemental.
Uh-huh.
I love Weird Al as much as the next guy, but let me just express, Weird Al does not have a movie on the forthcoming Barbie soundtrack. Dua Lipa does.
Yeah, does Dua Lipa play the accordion?
I mean, you don't know.
Did Dua Lipa do a style parody in the style of a band, and that band themselves admitted that was their best song?
Wait, who did that?
Devo.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, Devo was like when Weird Al did Dare to Be Stupid, which for those of you at home is a style parody of a Devo song, so it's original, but it's made to sound like a Devo song. They listened to that, and they're like, this is the best Devo song. We can't believe we didn't write it.
It makes sense. It pretty much is.
Yeah.
Our second trailer was I like to squeeze in a video game trailer, and if it's new IP for once, I'm gonna try and squeeze that in. We watched the Summer Games Fest trailer for Lies of P. There was of course a lot at Summer Games Fest. We'll get to that. This is compared to Bloodborne. Is it have the same people behind it? Do you guys know?
I
don't think so.
Yeah, it's just a Bloodborne-like based around the mythos of Pinocchio. And Bloodborne's kind of scare me because I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to just like real hardcore like.
I should correct you and say they're Souls-like. So
Souls-like.
All right. Well, I've made it abundantly clear I'm not terribly experienced with them.
McDonald's.
Remote car wash.
We're all gonna get grimace shakes after this record.
We'll die.
Anyways.
So yeah, I think like babyfying it for a baby like me and being like, oh, but it's Pinocchio. You know Pinocchio. You're Italian. It kind of helps me approach it a bit, and I'd be willing to give this one a chance. So it gets a life for me as well.
Threw a couple of hot women in there for you too. So.
Yeah. I also give it a life for visuals alone. I won't play it because I hate Souls-likes. Oh,
you like Bloodborne?
I tried Bloodborne, and I like the aesthetic of the Souls-likes games. Like, I think they look great, and they seem like they have great stories. But, like, when I played Bloodborne, I couldn't get past, like, the first boss. And I get that that's a point that you have to be, like, patient. You have to learn to, do your stuff. When you put me in a game like that, I'm gonna play it like Devil May Cry. And so unless it's, like, at least a little like Devil May Cry, I just can't handle it. And the fact that it is so, like, specific on, like, okay, you can either attack, dodge, or heal. All of these 3 things take up some of your stamina bar, and once your stamina bar is out, it's like, I can understand, like, maybe dodging takes your stamina bar, but, like, attacking? Like, Jesus Christ. Probably gonna get eaten alive because of that. But, no, I give it a life because it looks great, and even if I don't play it, I like that it's a game that looks so cool and unique.
Yep, I will also give it a life. I don't play a whole lot of Souls-likes. I enjoy them when they aren't going for pure difficulty, like the main FromSoft games. So something like Star Wars Jedi is pretty much a Souls-like, but it's way less, it's a lot more accessible. So if it's anything like that, I will probably enjoy it. But I'm also approaching this with some caution because usually when a trailer drops that, you get like 10 costumes for pre-ordering right now, then that doesn't always go super great. So it could have a bad launch, but it looks pretty promising. I think that it looks like there was a lot of care put into this, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Great. And our last trailer on this. Oh, so that gets a unanimous life.
Yep.
But then I decided on Toasty since the other one is Fatality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that works out. Our last trailer is My Adventures with Superman, a animated series coming to Adult Swim, I believe by the She-Ra studio, or at least a similar art style, starring Jack Quaid as Superman. I think he sells it in the trailer. I think he's I might have been a little skeptical at first, but he actually, that knows a lot about dinosaurs' energy, plays into, like, the youthful energy of Clark Kent that we don't always see lately, and I think it's pretty terrific choice. I think he works pretty well. It feels like forever since, like, there's going to be a Superman show. There's Clark and Superman and Lois, and I don't care for that.
Is that CW or
yeah. Something? And it's like a first episode, and everyone's like, we want a happy Superman, and CW's like, heard, Clark's mom dies, and he pours over H&R Block paperwork for, like, all the first episode. His sons both suck. So yeah, it's good. A new Superman cartoon has me like, okay, I'm all in. Superman is like my favorite fictional character of all time, so I'm very protective of all that business. So I'm kind of the target audience here, and I give it a life. How about you guys?
Yeah, I also give it a life because it looks well animated and fun. I'm not sure it's my type of show though. It does seem like a bit like a. For comic book shows, a lot of times the person I am, like, I really hone in on, like, the villains. And it just seems like this is mainly going to be about, Clark, Jimmy, and Lois. Which is, like, perfectly fine. And I think that's a good idea, but, like, it's not really what I'm looking for. But that being said, I think, like, I don't have any personal problems with it. I agree Jack Quaid is an awesome choice for Clark, especially because he played Peter in Spider-Verse, Gwen's Peter. So he's kind of like, putting all the main superhero rings on, like fucking Infinity Stones. But yeah, like I will wait to till it comes out to see if it's my speed, and I'll give it a chance. So yeah, it gets a life from me.
It also gets a life from me, and mainly the reason for that is Lois.
Okay, let's move on to this.
Say it.
Yeah, this is Dav's second favorite Lois after Griffin.
No, to be honest, the Lois is pretty peak design. But outside of that, I am looking forward to it because I only recently heard that it's coming to Adult Swim. Which, not that I am necessarily looking for, like, gore and boobies and stuff, but, like, a more mature show that kind of has this look to it is very welcome. And also Lois, so...
when Dav loves Lois, we can keep it in, but Will's all worked up that I love Rio Morales.
I didn't say that in the podcast.
You were like, we should cut it.
Oh, well, that was a joke.
Okay.
I feel like that one dude on I Think You Should Leave. I never said that. God, after I got you that nice little trinket too.
I wasn't. Chun-Li, another wonderful waifu. All right. Well, unanimous life for My Adventures with Superman. Yeah, there is a weird kind of, like you were mentioning. It's like it seems like they'll kind of just like quietly shuffle things over to Adult Swim if Warner Discovery wants to make a bad decision. And I'm kind of okay with that. And it seems like, yeah, this is it could be TV PG, and maybe Jimmy Olsen will say, "What the hell?" And then it's like, yeah, Adult Swim. And it's like, okay, cool, whatever. Why can't we get close enough on Adult Swim? Come on, guys.
You don't get close enough anywhere.
Yeah.
Five Nights at Freddy's death.
All right, so back, let's time travel back. We got 2 more rounds of Toast and Roast to do. Will,
yep.
Let's start off, please.
Alright, so I'm going to do a dual Toast and Roast in this, and that is for Black Mirror, the latest season. The first 3 episodes are awesome. I really liked them all. The second 2 are really, really bad. So here's the thing. So the first 3 episodes, the first one is called Joan is Awful. And I know Tommy didn't like this one. I know Dav did. But our friend Troy also did not like this one. I really enjoyed, like, the concept of this. It's that, like, a lady gets a show made about her life without her permission because she, like, forgot she didn't read the Netflix terms and conditions. And so there's, like, an AI generated show about her life happening like this very second with like Salma Hayek playing her. And they just kind of have to go through and get it down. I feel like that's very good Black Mirror. You know, it is a bit too funny in parts, and it definitely could be darker, but overall, it's a really solid story, and I enjoyed it. The second one was called Loch Henry, which is about these people who, like, go to Loch Henry to do a documentary about, like, someone stealing eggs. But then they learned that there was this, like, serial killer there called Ian Adair, and so they try to, like, do a true crime documentary about that. But then, like, you know, I don't want to spoil things, but then, like, they get wrapped up in, like, a crime. And I thought, you know, that one was probably my least favorite out of the first three, but I still enjoyed it a lot. Especially because, like, I think it would probably hit with me a lot more if I liked true crime stuff. But this idea of, like, people exploiting a tragedy that turns into a tragedy that is then exploited is a really fun idea. Fun may not be the right word, but a really good idea, especially as, like, a kind of commentary on that. And then the third episode was called Beyond the Sea. It's got Jesse Pinkman in it. It's about these two astronauts are in space, and they have to be there for, like, a certain amount of years to, like, test the human body in space. So back home, they have robot copies of themselves so they can, like, instead of sleep, go, like, link their minds with the robot copies and be with their families. Mm-hmm. But then one of them gets their robot copy killed, as well as their entire family. So they start using the same robot copy, which looks like Jesse Pinkman. So it's like this other dude is in Jesse Pinkman's body, and he's starting to, like, fall in love with his wife. And then, like, there's the drama between there. It's prime Black Mirror. It is, you know, technology. It's a human experience through the lens of technology that shows, like, hey, you know, we can be kind of messed up. And it was just, like, a super cool idea. It was kind of, like, set in an alternate 60s.
Yeah, it's really nice.
Yeah, every performance is great. The ending I don't want to spoil, but it is on the level of The Mist, if not maybe a bit more so. It's one of those endings where you're just like, oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. But, like, in the best possible way. I guess I'd like to hear, you know, what you guys have to say about... I mean, obviously you've only watched the first episode, but, you know, Dab, out of those first three.
Yeah, go ahead, Dab, yeah.
Okay, I'd say that my favorite of the bunch is Beyond the Sea. That one has surprisingly gotten kind of mixed reactions, but
really?
Like, I feel like it was absolutely the strongest and was the most faithful to, like, what makes Black Mirror as good as it can be. But yeah, I mean the way they. I mean, I'm also just, like, a sucker for alt history.
Oh yeah.
And they have, like, sort of a kind of an alternate version of, is it Charles Manson?
Yeah, the Manson murders.
The Manson murders is, like, a concept in there, and it's very cool to see, just, like, because, you know, it doesn't all have to be about just the future, but just seeing, like, an interesting take on that technology back in the 60s is really cool too. And then Joan is Awful was also pretty good. I do think that the sort of twist to it could have been explained a little bit, not so heavy-handedly, but overall I think the concept was really fun.
Yeah, and I think the twist is good enough for me to kind of forgive the fact that they do kind of spell it out for you.
It is a good twist. It's just, I think maybe if they had, you know, a little bit more time to write it, it probably could have been conveyed a little bit better. And then the Loch Henry, that one was also really good. A very interesting concept, and it's, you know, a Black Mirror episode that like could actually happen.
Yeah, it seems like Black Mirror at, like, its core, because it is about technology, but, like, technology that we have.
Yeah, I always tend to favor the ones that are about, like, the present day and what could actually happen right now. Like, Joan is Awful is a creepy concept, but it's never happening, like, anytime soon. and then Lock Henry, and then my all-time favorite, Shut Up and Dance, are like.
Is that the troll face one?
Yeah, it's the troll face one.
Yes.
Those episodes really get to me because they're like that. Probably has actually happened to somebody before. So that's what I really liked about those, at least.
Yeah. I wonder if I'm just trying the wrong ones, because, like, I gave Joan is Awful a chance, and I was pretty game, because I like Annie Murphy a lot, the lead actress in that one. So I was like, okay, I'll check it out when Will offered to give it a chance. But then it was like this, and I've also tried Nosedive.
Nosedive is one that, like, people really like. I think it's awful.
That one's pretty divisive. It's very popular episode. I feel like a lot of people who haven't seen every episode have seen Nosedive at least.
Yeah.
So that's probably where that comes from.
And then just with both, and like Joan is Awful, I think is much better than Nosedive. But it just always has this air of like, I just don't have patience for this fucking shit. I think they're all like 20 minutes too long, honestly. I think they all just feel so fucking in love with their central ideas and so fucking full of themselves that and kind of like you guys were touching on, I think like the ideas of Joan is Awful are pretty terrifying, and I think the synopsis on paper works. Like, I'd watch something with that plot, but the characters are constantly explaining and going through every possible thing you as a viewer might question or think of, because heaven forbid they have to think about it for a sec. Like, like when the lawyer is explaining, how when you talk about graham crackers out loud and then you see ads about graham crackers, it's like that. And I'm like, give me a fucking break.
It's not typical for Black Mirror. I think that you don't need, I mean, talking to you specifically, you don't need to sit down and watch every single episode of Black Mirror. I think you just need to watch the best ones, and if I'm going to recommend any to you, it's White Christmas, Shut Up and Dance, and San Junipero. And I think you would absolutely love San Junipero.
Oh, he absolutely would.
Oh boy.
Those are like the top three that I think are held with the most like esteem of the whole show.
White Christmas is hard to watch.
White Christmas is rough, but it is so fucking good.
San Junipero?
San Junipero, yes. That one would probably, if I were to put a bet on it, that would, I think, be your favorite episode of the whole series.
I would. I don't think there even needs to be a bet.
You might like the fighting game one too. That one is like a little weaker, but the concept is really good. And if you really want to like sit down for a long one, it sounds like you don't really want to, but they do have Bandersnatch, which I thought was pretty fun.
Oh, I love Bandersnatch.
That always looked a little cool to me. Like, yeah.
It is a little bit of a time investment if you actually want to like see everything, but it's a fun time. So those are the ones I'd recommend at least.
Gotcha. I'm sure there's a cool one out there. Just it's 2 for nothing right now. It might be a third strike and it's out. But if you're that confident, I'm interested.
Just watch San Junipero tonight.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean that's going to be your fit, and it's an anthology series. There's hits and there's misses, and sometimes it misses really really bad, but like sometimes it hits really really good. Like
I think like
Ashley O is that?
Oh yeah, Ashley 2.
Ashley 2. That
episode sucks, but I will say like when I think of Black Mirror, I think of concepts that like make me sick to my stomach. Not a lot of shows can do that.
White Christmas makes you really sick to your stomach.
Yeah, White Christmas is like I definitely watch it again because it's good, but I don't want to watch it again because it's just so hard to watch.
Yeah, it's like psychological.
It's expertly put together.
It really is, because the ones that are more like bodily threats are really, I think, like the one about the robot dogs.
Oh, like Metalhead?
I think that's what it's called, yeah. Like, episodes like that don't really do anything for me.
It's just like the psychological stuff.
Yeah, it's really the stuff that, like, okay, this could happen to you, or it's just such a horrific concept that you would just... It hurts to think about.
Yeah. So, that's my toast part of it. The roast part of it is the final 2 episodes. Maisie Day, and I think it's like Demon 76 or something?
Demon 79?
Yeah, 79. So the thing is, these episodes are not about technology, they're about supernatural threats. And the creator of Black Mirror is like, okay, well, Black Mirror isn't about technology bad, it's about, like, that humans are messed up. But it's always been through the lens of technology, and that's what's made it unique. So, like, on concept alone, these are really bad ideas. In addition, I would say Maisie Day, especially, is one of the worst executed episodes of television I have seen. So the deal is, there's a reporter, and she's investigating this actress Maisie Day, and then and I'm gonna spoil it because it's stupid and there's no suspense. Maisie Day hits a werewolf with her car and gets bitten by it and turns into a werewolf, and it's okay, that could be a Twilight Zone episode, but this makes no sense for Black Mirror. And even if they're trying to do the lens of this just shows how messed up humans are, it doesn't work. It's just a generic werewolf story. There's nothing in here besides the reporter takes a picture of a dude cheating on his girlfriend with a boy and he kills himself, but it never comes back. No. It's just kind of a footnote. There's nothing about werewolves that you can even without a lot of work that you can shape into this shows something about the human condition, which is honestly why werewolves are probably one of my least favorite monsters. John Talbane not included, for sure.
Respect.
Demon 79 is about this girl who accidentally makes a contract with a demon and she has to kill 3 people or the world will end. And it's exactly that. She's just on a quest. She's obviously not well liked, so she's got a lot of people to choose from, and she goes through and tries and kills people, and it's a bit better in terms of that it's more of a thrilling story, but again, it just doesn't work as a Black Mirror episode, and it barely works as a TV episode. And it's a shame that the season was so strong. I'd say the first 3 episodes are better than most episodes in some earlier seasons, but then the last 2 are probably the worst the series has to offer.
Among the worst.
Yes, I would say even the Miley Cyrus one at least has the lens of technology and does show how humans can be messed up. Maisie Day does not. It's just a generic werewolf story. Yeah. So I feel both are bad, but Maisie Day is worse because it doesn't fit and it's just not good.
Maisie Day, I am probably I would say a year from now, if you ask me, I'm probably going to say that's my least favorite episode of the whole series. Demon 79, I think, is just going to fall towards the middle of the bottom. I didn't hate it. It really doesn't have any technological aspect to it at all. Even Maisie Day kind of had the paparazzi thing kind of going a little bit. Demon 79 just doesn't even pretend to be how technology is ruined by humans thing. It really is just all a supernatural thing. Yeah. But if it was I don't know, a YouTube short film or something, I would probably be less hard on it. It really wasn't. It was fun to watch high. I mean, it's a really kind of a psychedelic experience because it's 79. It takes place in the 70s, and they have the demon looking like the guy from Boney M, which was kind of funny a little bit. But at the same time, it's just conceptually it kind of falls apart because it doesn't really make sense why.
It's a Black Mirror episode.
But even within the constraints of the story, it doesn't really make sense why this demon picked this girl to kill 3 people or the world ends, and then it ends the way that it does. It's weird. But it's okay. I didn't completely hate it, but yeah, Maisie Day was
fucking
a total
horrible.
Waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sherm, when you watch San Juniper. When you watch that one tonight, I would honestly recommend maybe watching White Christmas, and what was the and Shut Up and Dance. That's another good one. Mm-hmm. I would recommend watching those 3, and then I might recommend watching, because Maisie Day is shorter than the rest.
Yeah.
I might recommend watching it just so you know that I'm not sounding like an insane person.
Okay.
And that this is
going
really
from the top
bad.
Straight to the bottom.
Yeah.
All right, fair
You're
enough.
doing a nosedive.
The way you describe the demon stuff sounds incredibly stupid.
It is stupid, but it's not offensively so like Maisie Day is.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyways, I will pass it to you, Dave.
Okay, so I'm gonna start off talking about because I was gonna roast Elemental, but we already talked about that. Okay, I hate to do 2 months in a row of this shit of like roasting a DC movie. I finally got around to watching Shazam: Fury of the Gods, and I was not expecting this to be as bad as it was. I thought people were kind of exaggerating. I thought that maybe it was the whole like superhero fatigue thing. No, this movie just fucking sucks. I'm roasting the shit out of this movie. This is awful. And I actually ended up placing it lower than Quantumania, surprisingly, because I absolutely hated that too, and I'm pretty sure I talked about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
This, I think, goes to show, and just this whole year in terms of superhero films, with like this and The Flash and Quantumania, and then something like Spider-Verse, that it's not necessarily just people getting sick of superhero movies completely. People are sick of watching the same superhero movie over and over and over again. Because this doesn't do anything new, but it almost also feels like it is trying to do everything that has already been done before in just this one movie. It's going over all of these tropes that have just become so popularized and fitting all this stuff into this movie that is part of a universe that you already know is crumbling and is on its last legs.
And with The Flash doing so poorly.
Yeah, The Flash, and overall, you know what, this was also worse than Black Adam. This movie suffers from the fact that it's just so goddamn boring. Just so boring.
It's two factions of characters playing like, what you call it?
Ping pong?
Ping pong with a MacGuffin. And for like dumb reasons, it goes back and forth.
Well, and also the fact that, you know, the villains are OCs.
The villains, that's right, Dab, you probably didn't notice, the Daughters of Atlas are nowhere to be found in the comics.
They're just completely new?
Yeah.
Because, the DCEU, I feel like, kind of tried to lean into this whole, is it the Greek gods are real?
Yeah,
something?
with like Wonder Woman. And
I think that they maybe were trying to launch off of that, which is an interesting idea. I respect that more than like the MCU saying all the religions are correct. Whichever one you believe in, that's the one you're going to. But it's just like the most stale. It's, you know, it's like I'm watching fucking Clash of the Titans or something, where it's just like, okay, this is the Greek gray CGI amorphous blobs that are the gods apparently. The problem, I think, also with the DCU at this point is not just like the superhero fatigue thing. It's like, as opposed to something like the MCU, general audiences are not liking this story. Like, people got invested in the MCU because it had some pretty good connecting strands that didn't really get in the way all the time. And then when it got up to like Infinity War Endgame, it did feel like a story that people really, for the most part, enjoyed. All these movies before was finally coming to like a conclusion, and now people aren't so much into it anymore. But with like DC, I don't feel like there's ever really been a point, because they kind of failed pretty early on with like Batman v Superman, where audiences could like give the DC universe the benefit of the doubt and say like, this is a good story that I want to see more of these characters in. And when you have something that's like Shazam: Fury of the Gods, a sequel to a character who, and you guys know more about DC than I do, but is probably not the most popular DC
He's
hero.
a bit of a B-lister.
It's like, Marvel can do that with Ant-Man, right? Because they have this big universe you're interested in. The character is like, you're kind of curious to see how they become a part of this universe, even if you don't really care. Ant-Man, it probably was nobody's favorite superhero before the MCU, and probably still isn't.
We did know someone who Eric.
Right.
You're gonna have to censor his last name.
I have to put in another. Every time I don't know if you've noticed, every time we accidentally dox somebody's last name, I go back and get Bubble Bass saying pickles.
Oh, yeah.
It's happened
Pickles.
twice already. But Eric from the Toasty Awards, you may remember, was a hardcore Ant-Man stan.
Really?
Ant-Man stan.
Well, still, I mean, it goes to show that how rare that was. But you can't have these B-list characters head their own movies and get entire trilogies because the MCU's story was just so strong that you could add anybody into it and it was good. You can't do that with DC. The story has failed in like every single possible way, and when you have Shazam getting a sequel to a movie that was pretty good, honestly, like not terrible, but giving him a sequel already when like there's still so many other characters that haven't been explored, and it's just a universe that is not very interesting. Like, what do you expect?
And at this point, we're shit-talking a corpse.
Yeah.
Because I think it's official, The Flash ended it. And James Gunn's going to start his new thing. But it has always been the problem with DC that they want to be at Marvel's point like that.
Right now.
They want Superman and Batman to meet right away, and then Wonder Woman. I always thought it was such, like, the very first Shazam movie at the climax introducing the Shazam family, I always thought was like, oh boy, here we go. And you pointed out Spider-Verse. And I think the Shazam family was like, they were like, I gave it a 3-star. I was like, it was fine.
Like 3 out of 5, or
3 out of 5, yes. I was like, I thought some of the performances, I consider it cute. I know you don't look for cutes the way I may, and that's the divide between us. But the thing about, like, we talked about Spider-Verse, and what we didn't get to touch on was that, like, the family drama feels so
real.
Yeah, it's like there are chunks of Spider-Verse that feel like a Goofy movie, and it works. Like, Rio and Jefferson are these fully realized and endearing characters. And then in this, it's like, well, we have economic problems, but we also have arcade machines in our superhero lair, and they seem to be very afraid to commit to the more human elements of these characters, even though they really want to have their cake and have it.
Yeah. That was a shame, because I think one of the stronger parts of the first Shazam, for me at least, was the human element to it.
Yeah.
I feel like they did do like the sort of family dynamic pretty well, and the whole like him like meeting his mom and then she still doesn't want him sort of thing. Like, that was interesting, and you don't have anything close to that in this one. You have just like they kind of try to occasionally put in like one of the siblings has something going on, like there was the one kid who was like struggling with his sexuality or whatever, but it feels like they're just kind of putting that there because they want to like explore. They've already established all these guys are superheroes now. We got to give them something interesting.
They want to pay lip service to their humanity when Shazam should be the easiest character to do that with because he's a child.
Yeah,
there's no one more vulnerable than him.
And then there's the fact that when he's Shazam, he's a different person basically.
Yeah, they're really not the same.
And I think there's room to argue that when he's Shazam, he feels more confident. There's space for that, but at a certain point, it does completely lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like 2 years ago, if I watched this movie, I would have been a lot easier on it. I ended up giving it a 3 out of 10 because I can't just anymore watch a movie like this and think, oh well, it had a decent production value, so that has to bring it up to at least a certain minimum. And I'm not willing to afford that to these movies anymore. Like, straight up, they're manufacturing these like crazy. They are crunching people. They are, like, Marvel started using AI for their opening sequences.
Oh, yeah.
They are just punching these out, and they aren't even like trying to act ashamed of the fact that these are just content factories now. Something like Shazam just is not impressive anymore. It is the bare absolute minimum that DC could do to make any sort of profit, and it's very clear in this movie.
And they didn't make a profit.
And they didn't make a profit because they completely miscalculated how much people are willing to watch superhero movies now. And you know what? Great. I'm all for that.
It is so frustrating seeing like the lesson people take away be so surface level.
Yeah.
Like when Multiverse of Madness and Everything Everywhere All at Once were like huge. It was like articles were like, well, it's clear people love the multiverse. Like, give me a fucking break. So now people are like, okay, you're sick of superhero movies. What do you want? They're gonna look at Spider-Verse and say, okay, I get it. They want
Tom Cruise as Iron Man.
Yep.
They want Nicolas Cage as Superman, fighting off a big robotic spider.
I hope that the Flash's failure does cause them to be a little more introspective about that.
I have a lot of faith in James Gunn as a creative. I think I'm a little afraid he's biting off more than he's ever been able to chew. Like, this is probably the biggest thing he's ever been behind. But he's like I think the first new DC project is going to be, oh man, what are they called? Some freak team.
Oh, yeah, like Creature Commandos.
Creature Commandos. It's going to be an animated project. It's like, okay, you clearly have an idea of where you want to go with this. Let's take the wheel, man. So I have a lot of faith, and it's relieving to know that he only said The Flash. I think he couldn't legally say The Flash was bad. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt.
So many people over the last year just came out like, oh, I just watched the pre-screening of The Flash. This is going to be the best movie ever.
And then it came out, and audience, even casual audiences are like, man, this. No.
Well, every preview looked like horse piss.
Yeah.
Everything about it. Yeah. And Stephen King, this is the one guy.
No, they definitely paid him money.
Yeah.
Something had to go. That is absolutely, and I've never seen so much positive press for such a shit movie before.
Yeah.
It makes me almost want to apologize to Spider-Man No Way Home, because I think it's I didn't think they could get more ghoulish than puppeteering the dead. But that is I think the...
No Way Home doesn't do that, dude.
No, I'm misspeaking. I'm misspeaking. I guess I'm trying to say I thought... Yeah. I'm misspeaking. I guess I'm trying to say that I thought that all the nostalgia stuff in the MCU lately was really grating on me. I didn't know how bad it could get. And this is all coming from a DC diehard. Not necessarily any particular content, but to these characters. There's nothing I want more than for Superman and Flash and, hell, even the Creature Commandos to do really well. But if I'm never gonna support fucking well, not never, because I did see Ghostbusters Afterlife, but I also didn't know that they did that.
Yeah, I was now we know.
Yes, that's not something the Ezra Miller shit, the corpses. No, not for me.
I still hold No Way Home very fondly, but I think it's because it kind of earned, though. That's 20 years worth of films and just build up to this happening. And it, obviously wasn't all the MCU that built that, but it was there. People looked back fondly on these two Spider-Men. With The Flash, it's not only did you not earn any of that, some of these movies were literally shot down by you. The Nicolas Cage Superman never happened, and they're going to bring it up
every audience member is going to be oh my god, it's the canceled Nicolas Cage.
But yeah, I mean, I am cautiously optimistic for James Gunn's DC thing, because I think it's not enough to just know that you're going in and building a cinematic universe, because The Mummy, that they were very confident about that turning into the Dark Universe, and that went nowhere. And okay, we've turned this into more of a roast of the Flash, and
it's what it deserves.
Yeah, but to be fair, there isn't really anything to talk about in Shazam 2. It's such a nothing burger of a movie. There's so much nothing. There's the whole, what is she, 3,000 years old, crushing on a 16-year-old little boy?
I think he's 15.
15?
Mm-hmm.
That's weird. I don't care that she shouldn't look like a teenager. This is that's an anime thing. Come on.
Yeah.
But it's so boring. There's never a point in the movie where you feel any sort of stakes. Where it sort of presents itself. It's a superhero movie, There's there's villains, and they're going to destroy the city, but it's I don't feel it. I'm watching this, and I don't care about anything that's happening. I don't care that they all lost their superpowers at some point, and then they just all get them back. And I don't care that what's-his-face was imposed on Gal Gadot's body.
What's his face?
Well, his face was.
Oh, right. I thought you were talking about the stunt double who was standing in at that scene. But no, now I remember.
Like, it was kind of funny as like a single like image. Like, if you sent that to me, I would think it was funny, but not for an entire scene. And then her cameo at the end of the movie felt like I was watching like a movie in The Boys.
It is framed that
where
way.
she just like walks up in the middle of this random tree they like buried him under for some reason and starts playing her theme music. You're a woman. It's like it's like The Seven, like watching one of those movies. So I can only roll my eyes so much for this fucking piece of shit. That's all I gotta say about that. So,
great. All right. Well, I feel pretty obligated to follow up on the many times I said I would purchase and play Street Fighter 6 on the pod, because I've done so, and I am currently playing that game, even though it feels like it's been fucking ages, because it was like the second day of the month it came out. So I'll talk a little about Street Fighter 6. This is my most anticipated game of the year. Is it my favorite of the year? Not quite. I don't think it's quite the revolution that I've been waiting for. No, that's not... I'm sorry.
what else is the contenders for your favorite?
Right now, I like Octopath Traveler 2 a bit better. I could see Pikmin 4 shaking things up. And I could see some of the reveals from the Nintendo Direct reaching for that. Now, Street Fighter 6. I think this is maybe... I don't know... I'm biting my tongue a bit because I don't know if Will's going to agree with me. I don't like calling that out on the pod.
It's okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, I do think this is probably the best some of the Street Fighter characters have ever been, in so far as like how they've been realized. Like, the best I can indicate it is that homeless hot Ryu in this game was going to be how Ryu was in Street Fighter 5. And they chickened out at the last second and didn't do that. So they finally bit the bullet and did hot Ryu in this and kind of put everyone else through the same evolution, where they're all finally a graceful 48 years old and kind of have reached that point. And I think that, like, this is the most I've ever liked E Honda. You know, it's not that his personality has fundamentally changed, but just in the small changes to his attire and his demeanor, it's like, yeah, this is 3 decades of E Honda culminating in, like, his ultimate form.
No, I do agree that the returning characters do look really good.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably like one of my... If I were to get the game, I think the returning characters would be some of the things that have sold me.
Absolutely. We got, like, really graceful Sifu Chun-Li. She's incredible. And the new characters, I don't necessarily love all of them. I'm much more positive than, like, you are, Will, on them.
Yeah, because I fucking hate them.
Right. But, like, Jamie has seen just as much playtime from me as Chun-Li. That's saying a lot. He's probably the one that I'm like, we better carry this forward. Everyone... and Marisa is pretty incredible. I could see those being the two that they really carry forward. The others are fine. I don't hate Luke the way a lot of people do, but I think Luke is fucking... I love memes of Luke, because I think everyone's latched to the idea that he's fucking stupid.
Yeah, he's a himbo.
He's a gigantic himbo. Lily, I could kind of take her leave. Manon, I was in love with when I first saw her. The more I play with her, it's like, there's way cooler judo fighters, I feel a little bit. She's okay. I like her alright. And then, like, in a competitive aspect, what helps make this game accessible, everyone's talking about modern controls versus traditional controls. I think most important is that they really distilled how you use these characters to be at the forefront. Like, you're going to get in a fight with Zangief, and you're going to get within 5 feet of him, and he's going to take half your bar with 3 grabs. You're going to be immediately aware of how you fight Zangief. And I think that the game teaches you that in really interesting ways. You're going to know immediately what Blanca does. When you're fighting an AI Cammy, you're going to know she's all over the fucking place and zoning. I think that's what this game really does best insofar as its core gameplay, is using the artfulness that it applies to the characters in a way that like illustrates for a newcomer for the first time. Like, more people than ever are like, Street Fighter 6 is getting me good at fighting games and getting me into it because there's an easier control scheme, and I think they program the AI and the moves you're going to use and the moves you'll see to immediately let you know, here's how Ken works right when you fight him, here's how Juri works. So that's kind of my blurb about. I do think this is and like, I love the urban aesthetic. I think it's a gorgeous fucking game. I think this is gonna sound so silly. This is one of my favorite character select screens in ages because they put all this love into, if you ran into this character in an alley, what's their little animation? And you got Blanca hanging up from the rafters, and DJ's using a big oil drum as a musical drum. And what that tells me is that, like, Capcom wanted Street Fighter V to be the competitive game. We don't care much about how faithful we are to the characters. We care about having the competitive fighting game and getting it to you even if there's not an arcade mode ready. Whereas in this one, it's like, we want to ingratiate you as to why these characters have persisted for so long. And I think that's what works about it, and that's what's like, there's a lot of warmth and love in that atmosphere. That takes us to World Tour, which a lot of people love. I like, but I don't think is perfect.
The part I played of it, I got bored of it really fast.
It's not terrific. I think I think it's impressive in some ways. This is the one where you create your monstrosity, you create your character, and they spit you out into Metro City, you get to meet everybody. I find the travel is not convenient in it. Like, there's bus stops, there's ways to fast travel, but it's just not very user-friendly. Like, you and I both ran into some challenges with that.
Yeah.
And then, like, the fights are fast. They're, when you're fighting grunts on the street, you wrap it up pretty fast. And I like being able to make a little Frankenstein of Street Fighter moves. I just, I don't find that aspect. It's weird. There's like a lot of OCs that are only in World Tour. There's characters you meet in World Tour that you can't play as in like general competitive, like Bosch, your rival. And it just strikes me as like, I felt like it just needed to be one or the other. Like, assign a small team to make the Street Fighter RPG, where it's like its own thing that you expand on. Because I just don't love the half-assedness, honestly.
It does feel like it was very rushed.
And like, I think it's impressive that they pulled it off. Like, it's a complete mode. I wouldn't say it's like I'll go back and finish it. I'm not done with it. I think that the best part of and I think here's what sucks about it. Here's what's great and what sucks at the same time, is that the best part of World Tour is the characters you already have in the main game.
Yeah.
Because they're referred to as the Masters. You learn the different fighting styles and moves from the principal playable characters of Street Fighter. You meet up with Chun-Li, and the Master cutscenes are some of my favorite fucking things. Each character you meet, you get a cutscene with your weirdo avatar slotted in, and how they go through the training regimen with your character. Like, you meet Juri in a dingy alley, she does an Akira slide and calls you a name, and you text her later and she sends you scams. And, like, you meet Zangief, and he's, like, got 2 big-ass weights here, and I think, like, an ankle weight here, and he's hopping, and you have 1 ankle weight, and you're like, I can't fucking do it. And Zangief is yelling at you, push! Push! Good things wait! And you lift your ankle a little, and you can use his pile driver, and it's fucking amazing. Because, like, people have been saying, like, well, then Capcom never does anything with Street Fighter's characters.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, there are a bunch of weirdos who show up to a fighting tournament. I would argue Street Fighter, you can have good characters and not an interesting story. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I feel that's always been the case for Street Fighter. It's never been,
most fighting games.
Yeah. I feel this is the best the characters have ever been used. Where it's like, it's always been, E Honda's story is that he's starting the bathhouse. And E Honda in this is telling you, nobody ever got strong without losing. Don't lose hope. That's like the most impactful fucking thing the goofy backhouse sumo wrestler has ever fucking done. And that's what's unfortunate, is that when all that's going on, I don't give a shit about my own, like, create a character. I don't give a shit about Bosch. The game turns into, like, a Street Fighter dating sim, almost. They give you everybody's phone number. You can text Chun-Li and Cammy.
Really?
And you can... Chun-Li... Dude, you can talk to Chun-Li and she will ask, "What do you think of my thighs?" I'm not joking. And you can talk to the sexiest of them all, Dalsim, and he's got, like, his Indian elephants all over, and he's cool looking, he's a cool dude. I'd wait, and, like, all the characters have these funny ways, like, Ryu barely knows how to use a phone, because he's homeless, and, like, E. Honda loves spamming.
He's actually homeless?
Ryu is a homeless guy who wanders the earth looking for strong opponents.
Alright, I thought he at least had, like, some place to stay.
That's called Ken's house. I love E. Honda finds, like, a sumo emoji he loves and just spams you with it. Juri sends you links that look really sketchy. She's like, "You should click this." And you're like, "No."
Doesn't Cammy send, like, a bunch of cats?
She loves to send you cats, yeah. She says, she's like, "If I get left on red for 10 minutes, I assume the worst." I think it's the best shit that's ever happened to these characters. And that's why I wish it was kind of a separate product. I just feel like this game was almost a little too ambitious, and I think that's my favorite criticism I can give of something. So I think this will probably be in my top 5 nominees for the year. It didn't knock off Octopath like I thought it maybe could have. I think it's terrific. I have a lot of nice things to say about it. I do just think I find myself wishing a bit that some of those resources were put in other areas.
Like your thighs.
Yeah. All right. Well, so are we doing just one more round?
Yeah, I figure that should be fine.
All right, we'll go for it.
Okay, I hate to talk about 2 TV shows in a row, but I've got a roast. So Sherman Dav and I decided to watch the first episode of Hailey's on It. We did not get through it because it is very bad. Now, I know that Disney Channel cartoons have been going through kind of a renaissance. I'm not the biggest fan of Owl House and Amphibia, but I can see why people like it. I thought the DuckTales reboot was fantastic. The Ghost of Molly McGee, or the Ghost and Molly McGee, was a little annoying. Hailey's on It is just, like, legitimately hard to watch. It is, it's a show about, like, apparently there's this girl named Hailey, and she's kind of a pushover. She doesn't do a lot, and so she's got this big to-do list. And then someone from the future says, "You've got to complete the to-do list or the world's gonna end." We find out all of that in the first 5 minutes of the episode. It's way too fast. I would say that it, like, speed runs, like, character development, but this is, like, absurd. The characters, the main characters are Hailey, and then who's the other guy?
I can't remember.
Jason Mendoza?
Yeah, he's played by Jason Mendoza from The Good Place. Both are just kind of, like, boiled down to, hey, I'm a kid, and this is my one personality trait. You know, I'm just going to call him Jason. Jason Mendoza is an idiot, and Hailey is, like, you know, a little nervous. It's just so, like, the speed of it is so, it's like TikTok attention span. The character designs aren't that good. Like, if you look at, like, even something like, you know, the Owl House, which I wasn't crazy about it, you look at the main character and you can get a feel for, like, who she is. You look at Hailey and you're like, okay. Like, it almost...
Glasses.
Yeah. No, it almost feels like she was, like, created in a, like, by an AI with, like, a few key terms. On top of that, I don't care about, like, the world ending, because, like, they do, like, this really loose connection, but they don't actually, like, show any, like, you know, like in Spider-Verse, when, you know, you break the canon, you see what happens. In this, it's just like, oh, no, you gotta say it, you gotta do it. Like, there's this really annoying, like, phone dude who's in a teddy bear.
That was, like, 80% of why I couldn't bear to watch anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's, like, from the future, and he makes a bunch of bad puns. It just honestly feels like a parody of a Disney Channel cartoon, but it's not a funny one. It's like they took all of the Disney Channel cartoons, put them in a blender, and then like put it in like a filtration system to filter out anything unique about it, and that's what we've got. We've got the Hailey's on it slop.
It's a shame. Well, because okay, to be clear, you know, we are three grown men just like harping on this fucking Disney Channel cartoon, but like there are a lot of cartoons that are aimed at kids, and even ones on Disney Channel that I think are still like you can tell they're good even if they're not for you.
Gravity Falls and
Gravity Falls.
Do I need to? I'll cut this if we need to, but we have regular evenings where we don't know what to do, and one of us will just suggest, let's watch Bluey.
Let's watch Bluey.
Okay, but Bluey is fucking good.
Bluey is a show for a much like the youngest possible audience, and like it's still made in a way that like adults can sit down and watch and enjoy it because it was made so that like parents would not want to fucking rip their eyeballs out of their sockets when they watch this with their babies. And like, okay, not every single show needs to be on that level, but Hailey's on it is like, it's a concept that is pretty, like, conceptually, it's interesting, and it has a lot of potential, but it needs to slow the fuck down, because, like Will said, it is just go, introduce everything, and then immediately jump into, like, it's a normal episode. Like,
You
the
can
first
spend
episode
a
should
whole
be...
and of course it starts with they're in a wacky situation.
Yeah.
They're in like the first thing you see is they're like in a chase scene, and then it pauses, and the character fucking goes, That's me. I bet you're wondering how I got in this situation.
No, and like the opening scene, and it goes back to it. Apparently, one of the things on their list was like to save a super squid.
It was like a squid that was a mascot and is being kept. Sorry, it's a squid that a radio show exploits to predict sports.
Yeah.
It's like kind of a weird like. I see what they're going for, kind of. Where it's like a radio show will have, we have our squid that'll, like, lay its tentacles on the winning team.
But it's just, like, so, like, breakneck that you can't even really process what's going on.
It's a lot to take in. The whole first episode could be the premise of meeting the future person who says, if you don't finish your bucket list, the world is screwed. But that's...
And, like, setting up the stakes, like... Maybe she's like, there has to be a moment where she's like, I'm not doing this, and then we see, like...
There is.
Yeah, but it's also, like...
Because we see Hailey, I think she tries to, like... Because I think one of the items is, like, kiss her crush, who's the boy. And I think how it goes is she tries to erase it, and then all of a sudden something, like, fucked up happens outside.
Yeah.
Or, like, there's, like, the blink of, like, fire.
Yeah, something to that effect. So, to their credit, they do establish that.
But it's, like, very minimum. Like, if you just see, like, oh, wow, I blinked and there was, like, a frame of the world ending. Like, you have to have some kind of, like, emotional impact rather than just being like, yep, the world's gonna end. Look, this is what the world's gonna be like. Okay, let's go.
And... it feels incurious in how it approaches, because, like, I remember we were watching it, and I said, well, I think that the person who comes from the future is an adult Hailey who's bummed she never finished the list and is saying this to her younger self to get her to do it. And Dav point blank says to me, I don't think this show is that smart.
I don't think it is.
No, and, like, I think that when they answer questions like those with the blink of the future we saw, it's acting kind of incurious, because that proves that the list is real, I guess? And it's kind of incurious in that it doesn't leave that space that I had to interpret what may happen. And that tells me it's kind of an incurious show. It's more like that's a premise that could match a Gravity Falls. When the tone almost feels like, not in quality, but the tone is almost like, what are we gonna do today, Phineas and Ferb thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think the two ideas are meshing all that well.
Not at all, no.
It reminds me more of something like Infinity Train. Did you guys ever watch that?
A little bit, yeah.
Because I watched all 4 seasons, and I know that is a show that is also like very well beloved, and if you like harp on it, you're gonna get some backlash. But I'm gonna go ahead and harp on it because it's has a similar issue where it introduces a very interesting premise and concept. To be fair to Infinity Train, it drags that out farther and like paces it out a lot better, but it still solves it in the first season. All the mysteries are solved in the very first season, and then they do 3 more seasons that are just far weaker in my opinion. And this one feels like it's just having the issue where it's like, okay, here's the interesting concept, here's every single answer, watch what happens. And
yeah, it's solved in like the first...
Yeah.
I mean, and the episodes are like split up into like 15-minute segments, I guess. It's answered in the first 15-minute segment, so it's like, okay, so now we're just gonna, see Hailey do wacky things?
And even something as simple as like them stealing the octopus or whatever at the beginning, it's like, I bet you're wondering how I got here. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I kind of am. And then they don't show how they got there. They just say, like, okay, it was something on her list, and now hard cut back to them in the golf cart instead of maybe showing them actually going and stealing it or having some sort of plot around that. It's just instant going through the list. Doesn't feel like anything's very important off of that other than the whole kissing thing. And if that's the only thing you have to look forward to her having like a challenge accomplishing, then what's the point?
Oh man, and like, I think it says a lot that we were able to harp on it this impassioned and this long, and we didn't even finish the episode.
Yeah.
It's honestly insane. But it's like they pack so many ideas and concepts into that bubble of time that we spent with this show that we have this much to discuss.
Yeah.
It's all resolved, though. We already know everything about it, so it's whatever.
Yeah, and I can tell that the episodes are going to be like, Hailey's like doing something on the list, and then she's like, I can't do it, and then she does it. I would bet $100 that is going to be the next episode. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. It's my opinion of these kind of shows was not super high, and it just hasn't raised. Dab, over to you.
Okay, now that we're done talking about shows for adults, let's switch gears to Succession. HBO's Succession. I decided to binge the entire series shortly after it ended, I want to say the end of last month. Because this was like that show where every Sunday a new episode would come out, and it was like, that's what people were talking about. It was like kind of like Game of Thrones in that way. So I did want to see what all the hype was about, but I didn't want to like start while it was still airing and end on like cliffhangers and shit. And I'm glad I didn't do that because this was a fun show to binge. Every episode is about an hour long, so it is kind of a test of stamina. But it's 4 solid seasons. It tells a very good story and wraps it up in exactly how I was hoping it would. So that's you can't always ask for that in shows nowadays where it just wraps up. Like we were talking about, like The Good Place, where it has an ending that clearly it was aiming for and it gets there in a good way.
Yeah.
Succession is pretty much the opposite of The Good Place. In the sense that it is about the worst people you have ever heard of in your life. Every single person, like in the main cast, is somebody you are actively rooting against. And anytime something bad happens to them, it's just... It's nice. It's very nice. The only exceptions might be when something bad happens to someone to the benefit of somebody else in the main cast. But it's nice to see people who are morally terrible get themselves into situations where they are just fucked. And the whole show is basically that. It's just these rich, powerful elite. It's very clearly going to for a parody of Rupert Murdoch, where you have the old guy, the patriarch, who owns this huge multi-conglomerate company that spans the world and has a bunch of different divisions. Something like Disney. Basically is the most powerful man on the planet, and as a result, his family life is just completely dysfunctional. And as a result, you get like a family drama with just the highest stakes and the absolute lowest lows that these people can reach, and it's really, really just... I couldn't stop watching it, honestly. Every time I would get home, I would just start watching it again, because I ended up watching it very quickly, like in the span of like 2 weeks, because it's just, I can't put it down. It's so interesting, and then very great ending to end it all off, so...
What's the quote you have on the whiteboard on your fridge?
Don't eat Peter's special cheese. It is a quote from the very last episode, and I will not explain what it means.
Oh boy.
I get a lot of weird, like, vicarious joy out of, like, just, like, the out-of-context shit people are saying about a show I don't watch every Sunday. Will, do you care if I spoil Succession?
Yes.
You do care?
I do.
Damn.
He does want to watch it.
There's a meme I just really loved the day a big event happened. I DM'd it to you.
Yeah, I know.
What Shay Frillis posted.
Yeah.
Because it was like, an episode aired the same weekend as the Mario movie. And two characters' fates were perhaps intertwined.
Yeah. It's a show that, while I wouldn't say is on the level of like Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, it has a very similar following to it, because it is similar in the way it's presented as sort of this slow burn, kind of fly on the wall, but kind of mockumentary style almost, without actually being a mockumentary at all. Just the way it's filmed kind of gives that vibe. But, there's like a subreddit that's just OK Buddy Succession.
So which is like the OK Buddy Chicaner.
Yeah. So, you can kind of see that there's a similar following behind it. It is not like... it's not a very action-packed show at all. There's not really, like, lives at stake necessarily, but it's... like I said, it's a family drama with, like, the absolute highest stakes that can have without being, like, The Sopranos or something.
That sounds wonderful. Is it because, like, there's times when you describe things that happen in Better Call Saul, and I think it's just fucking insane. Like, does it reach those levels?
Sometimes. The thing about Better Call Saul that kind of, I think, elevates a lot of those funny moments is that, number one, there's, a few comedians in the show, like Bob Odenkirk and stuff, but also it's like, the subject matter is so easy to, like, have something funny to put up against it, because you can have just like the most fucked up death scene ever in there that's like emotionally traumatizing, and then have like
Taco Cabezas around the corner.
Taco Cabezas around the corner. And Succession, I feel like, does have some of those moments. There are like entire episodes that I would say are just like really funny because of just the concept behind them. But yeah, I'd say it. Yeah, kind of like that, basically.
All right.
But, overall, the absolute high point, I think, is Brian Cox as Logan Roy. He is just one of the best actors probably ever. I haven't seen a whole lot of, like, stuff with him in it. I've seen, like, X2, where he plays, like, Stryker. But in Succession, every time he's on screen, he is just this... Like, you see, like, a timid, weak, like, sick old man, but he's also just incredibly menacing and terrifying because of just how much power he has over every single facet of every single other character's lives.
Nice.
So he steals the show. He is so great.
Oh, nice. Well, I mean, yeah, I'll definitely... I think before you watched it, you were like, Tommy, you seem like someone who watches Succession.
It's kind of like, it's one of those shows. I mean, what normally when it's like in the zeitgeist like that, I kind of expect you to at least somewhat follow a bit like that. But.
Yeah. I did watch all of White Lotus so far. Even after they dropped to Dario, which is a big deal for me. Succession sounds excellent. I'll definitely give that a shot at some point.
It's great. Highly, highly recommend. especially if you like the catharsis of seeing evil people get what's coming to them. So.
Hell yeah.
Well, that's all I got for that. So, off to you.
All right, I guess last top before the news. You showed us a film that is fucking insane, David, and it's called Freaked. It is starring and co-directed by, I think it's Alex Winter. Is that his name?
I don't know.
Bill of Bill and Ted, opposite Keanu. Yeah. Now, you might look at this and think, oh, it's another screwball 90s stoner comedy. Nope. This is maybe the hardest I've ever laughed watching a film. And it's not a well-preserved film. Like, it's not currently rentable. I think there's just, like, a rip on YouTube. Yeah. And I looked, it didn't, like, do poorly or anything. It was, like, I think a moderate, mixed-reviewed success. And, like, it's, I think, just, like, genuinely hysterical. And it's, like, visually very cool. Because what it's about is Alex Winter plays a celebrity who ends up getting one thing leads to another, but what you need to know is he gets mutated, and he ends up in a freak show of other characters who are similarly mutated. So there's these amazing like animatronics and costumes. There's like a half worm man. There's a literal cowboy.
There's sock puppet.
Yeah, sock puppet.
Sock puppet. Oh man, so and just like. The movie is just, like, so abrasive in how it's shot. Like, there's this, I think there's a line delivery where two characters simply say a character's name. They become aware they are in the presence of a character they don't care for named Stewie Glick.
Stewie Gluck.
Stewie Gluck. And they both just yell, Stewie Gluck!
Because the flight attendant, they're like on a plane, and the flight attendant opens like their carry-on, and like looks inside, and she gets like freaked out, and she's like, is this your hideous little troll?
And they both instantly know what Stewie Gluck! He's this amazing...
He's just this little kid.
But with the Coke bottle glasses, and like, it's the kind of role that I'm like, I wonder how this kid's parents felt knowing their son was cast. There's an amazing bit where he learns what's going on. He's going to sell the story. So you see him try to sell it to a newspaper. They find it ridiculous and throw him out the glass door. This repeats twice, and then a newspaper finally buys the story. And they're like, thank you for the story. Bill, show him the exit. And he goes, don't worry, I know the way. And he jumps through the fucking glass.
He's like horribly abused throughout the movie.
Yeah, he falls out of an airplane.
He gets hit by like a drink cart, and then he like gets up and he like
accidentally opens
the emergency exit, and then gets shot out, and he's on the side of the plane.
And then one guy in like a wheelchair, I think, also flies out, and only then does a flight attendant just calmly close the door.
He lands, like they show a shot of a giant haystack, and he lands next to it and is perfectly fine.
It's a very cruel film. There's a point where like Alex Winter's best friend is like this chauvinistic like hits on anything in a skirt type, and they meet someone who's like a 90s brand aggressive feminist, like when it was a little more in vogue to view that kind of activist character that way, and their mutation is they get fused together. And, like, they're just, like, so cruel to each other. They're, like, hitting each other with, like, blunt objects and fucking, like, just beating the shit out of each other the whole time.
I still think the high point of the movie for me is the Rastafari.
Because, the mad scientist responsible, who is played by Randy Quaid, I think method acting, because he's an insane person in real life. His guards that keep anyone from leaving the lab are the Rastafaris, who are two large eyeballs with, like, Rastafari hats and dreadlocks for no reason at all.
There is literally no reason for them to be like that.
I don't think there's even, like, he even says, oh, that's an early mutant I made. They exist with, like, apropos of nothing.
I am pretty sure what happened was like they were in like recording the lines for these little things, and they just like, kept talking, and one of them was just like Rastafari, and they just like built off of that because it feels like it comes out of nowhere from just something it says once.
Rastafari. They just really liked the pun. Just ran with it. Oh man, there's also I think Brooke Shields is in this film as an interviewer. And she's kind of the framing device. All I will say is you'll think she's pointless at first, and then she's maybe like one of the best parts in the end. Oh my god. So it like I just can't stress enough that this is the kind of movie that I could have easily died without watching. And my life is changed for the better for having watched Freaked.
Especially Stone. This is a movie that if you're gonna watch a movie,
you've gotta.
Oh,
you
man.
gotta watch this one high. This is perfect.
I think it was like, what's the funniest scene from a movie was a Twitter trend, and someone posted, like, because you're aware they're in a plane, is like the prior context, and a plane is seen landing, and they're talking over it, like, at least nothing's going on with our flight, and
the plane crashes, and then it just, like, cuts to them, and they're like, wow, good thing we weren't on that plane.
Someone uploaded that clip. God bless your soul for making us aware of. I want a Criterion Blu-ray of Freaked. I want this to have like the cosplay screenings that The Room has. I want like a 5-paragraph review on Letterboxd the way Freddy Got Fingered has. Everyone should watch Freaked.
I hope it has some type of comeback,
like a renaissance.
Yeah.
Anything, because it really is just nowhere. We had to get it off of a pirate site, which probably would have anyway, but like it's kind of weird that that's the only place you can find it.
I think it's full on YouTube if you want an easy way to watch it, I believe. Granted, we didn't watch that one, so I don't know if they, have everything or whatever. You'll be able to find it. You have your ways, you sick fucks listening. That's Freaked. Alright.
Yeah.
So, I'm super autistic and care a lot about symmetry, and sometimes I get bummed I don't hear about your guys' video games. But the good news is, I heard about so many video games in the news that I can't even fucking remember them all. Let me go on my phone.
Oh, yes. God, probably the start of Summer Games Fest is, like, fair game, because I think that our last podcast was before that.
Exactly, yeah. So I got an article of the big announcements. We got a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth trailer.
Hell yeah. Final Fantasy VII is my favorite game ever, and I really loved Remake, and I'm really excited for Rebirth. Seems like they're taking an interesting direction with it.
What was it? What's going on with Tifa? What's the deal?
Oh yeah, so in the trailer, Sephiroth is talking about the Nibelheim incident, and he's like, "But I killed Tifa then, so who is that?" Which is like, ooh, what the fuck?
Yeah, that wasn't a thing in the original game.
No, not.
See, that's interesting, but it's also making this feel less penetrable to me. I don't this makes me feel like, alright.
Like you might have to have some kind of prior knowledge about how the story went before.
Well, because I do. I know Final Fantasy VII, but it's almost like, is this still a remake? Like, what are we doing here, lads?
I'd say pretty much. It's still like, as far as I can tell, following most of the plot beat. I think that most of the divergence is probably going to come in the last game.
Yeah.
Because they're going to do something with those, like, ghost things.
Yeah, the Dementors.
Like, probably just full-on confirmation this is, like, a sequel, technically, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. We geeked out really hard about Spider-Man. We still got more to go. Spider-Man 2 is coming out on October 20th, and we got a trailer along with that.
So excited.
Looks great.
I've talked about him multiple times, but Yuri Lowenthal is a perfect Spider-Man, and I love what he's doing with the symbiote suit.
Yeah, it's great. And they showed that like the map is expanding like substantially, and they showed Queens, and they show the football that you start the Ultimate Spider-Man, that game in, which is one of my favorite Spider-Man games, and hopefully maybe we get to play as Venom in this one too, because that was such a great part of that.
Well, you play as Peter with the symbiote, right?
Yes.
But you mean as like fully Venom?
Because in Ultimate Spider-Man you could play as full-on Venom and like run around the city eating people, and that was like so much fun. So I hope something like that would be in this game, but I could also see that maybe being just too far out of the scope.
Speaking of Venom, they've confirmed that it is not Eddie Brock.
Is it really up in the air that it's anybody other than Harry? Because I thought that's what the first game was going for.
Well, see, I thought that too, but then, like, you know, Harry had the symbiote in the tube, but then Peter gets it, so it's obviously got to leave the tube to go to Peter and then go to Harry again.
Yeah, but I don't know.
I don't know. Like, Eddie Brock is my favorite Venom. I've read stories about other people being Venom, and it's just not as interesting, so I'm a bit bummed about that, but, you know, I'll wait and see.
And is the whole deal here that Peter and Miles are always both on the map and both in action, and you can just switch at will?
Yeah, you can switch between them.
Which is awesome.
And then, like, what, AI takes over when you switch for the other?
It's probably like a GTA 5 thing where they just kind of go about their day, and if you switch back, then they're in some random part of the city.
So it's not like in the middle of a battle you switch.
There might be some parts of that, yeah.
But we don't know for sure.
We're not 100%, but I don't know if they showed that in the trailer, but yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if that becomes like a mechanic.
Interesting, okay.
Like the cameos from Mortal Kombat.
Speaking of which, I guess we might as well. Mortal Kombat 1 got a full gameplay reveal. It looks pretty promising, I'd say.
Kenshi was always one of my favorite characters, so I'm happy to see he's getting love, and I'm happy to see that he is going to be both a major player and has a fantastic redesign. Raiden, who is my favorite character, is turned into my least favorite thing in the world, an annoying kid. So I'm very unhappy about that, but, you know, you win some, you lose some. Mostly pretty much disappointed that, you know, we're not going to get Richard Epcar's insanely good performance as Raiden. And, you know, we've just got, like, you know, it would have been really easy just to, you know, have Richard Epcar in there, make it an adult Raiden, and he's like a teacher, that's fine. But, you know, I guess they're going with like a mentor-student type thing, which, you know, I guess, but it's also been done to death, so... overall, I think it's awesome. I think the cameo system is great. Johnny Cage looks great. He's my other favorite character. People are saying it looks ugly. I just don't get it. I think it looks great.
It blows 11 out of the water, at least.
The stages in the backgrounds look fantastic to me.
I love how it's like, because like the very first trailer we got was like all the magic shit. It was like all the Outworld and Chinese garden stuff. Then it's like they kind of relieve you and they're like, the first stage you're going to see in this is Johnny Cage's mansion where there's a Roomba scrubbing up your blood. That's all I needed. I'm like, all right. I do kind of miss because they might make it seem like the hero lineup here is that Liu Kang is gathering up Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Raiden, Kung Lao, Kenshi, Johnny Cage. And I do feel... And Sonya's relegated to being a cameo. Cassie's not born yet. Kitana seems to have her own shit going on with Melina. I feel... And not even just from like a gender point of view, I do think it's like, we got a lineup of 5 buff brunette men. And I feel like there's just something missing from the crew of heroes that's like... I think they're all great characters. I love Johnny Cage, I love Kenshi, I love those guys. Granted, this is a new continuity. Who knows if I still love them? They look like they're intact, though.
Yeah.
Sub-Zero and Scorpion seem like maybe
boring.
something's... This is the worst design they've ever had.
Yeah, it's just so boring.
We touched on this last time, but like people... You look at like how Sub-Zero looks in Deception and like...
I mean, they just look like... It looks like they're going back to form from like the first game where it's Scorpion and Sub-Zero were just different colored versions. Because they have the exact same outfit, but like... That was a bad thing.
And to be fair, they're physically brothers in the new timeline, and ostensibly both in the Lin Kuei. So it arguably makes sense, but they could have done a bit more.
Yeah.
And even like, I think Johnny Cage and Kenshi have good designs here, but like, the first time I watched the trailer, I could tell, oh, that's Kenshi, he's reaching for the sword. Who is he fighting? Because, like, I was like, is that Johnny Cage? I guess it's a mansion. Why would Johnny Cage have Sento, though? Then it wasn't until Johnny Cage started to, like, fight. I'm like, oh, no, those are his moves. I have a friend who's, like, not as obsessed with Mortal Kombat as me, who's like, I kind of don't know who these people are. Because Johnny Cage is wearing, like, a button-down polo, and Kenshi's wearing, like, a suit. And they both look cool, but it's not Johnny Cage in bright green sunglasses and Kenshi with a blindfold right this second anymore, you know? So, I'm kind of... And like Katana has her like least remarkable outfit ever, I'd say. I'm kind of hoping we have some like weird sounding characters that are supposed to be in. As I think Ed has been teasing a lot. Like, if you love the 3D era, you're going to be well fed, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they reinvent characters like those. But I still think it looks promising. The fatalities are pretty terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could go on about Mortal Kombat all day. I won't keep boring you guys. But I think it looks good.
Yeah.
Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. I thought that looked pretty cool.
Yeah, not much to say. I think it looks cool.
I'll probably take that one.
Sonic Superstars.
Man, I was like, we watched that trailer for Sonic Superstars, and we were like, and then like that came up in the Nintendo Direct, and I was like, starting to come around to it. It looks kind of cute, and then spoilers ahead, Mario Wonder just like devoured its lunch.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I don't like that art style for Sonic. I feel like Sonic Mania is kind of, that's like where it needs to be. That's
just like
retro look.
I like that Fang the Sniper is back. I like him. Alan Wake 2, do we care?
No.
It's funny how much they're fucking that up, but yeah.
Like a Dragon Gaiden.
Looks cool.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Fucking Kiryu Spider-Man. I'm so looking forward to that.
Some Star Trek shit. Toxic Commando.
Yeah, John Carpenter's Toxic Commando. You got any opinion on that as a John Carpenter fan?
Well, I like John Carpenter, so hoping for the best.
Sandland.
Don't even remember that one.
I thought that looked like. I thought that was going to be Dragon Quest.
Well, it's
oh yeah,
because it's based on a manga by Akira Toriyama.
So it's the same like art styles.
Yeah.
That could be interesting, but I don't really like Desert Worlds very much.
Yeah, they're boring.
Pal World. This is like it's like what Bart Simpson would play. It's like Pokemon with gun.
if they because with that like art style and those designs, I think that's great. If they just took out the guns and made it more like actual Pokemon, that would have so much potential. But the guns make it look so cheap. I don't like it.
Lord of the Rings. They're in good press.
They're doing like a Dwarf Fortress type of game, which could be interesting.
Let's see. Oh, we got the Twisted Metal preview.
Oh Jesus, that like, I didn't think from the first preview I'm like, oh hey, these designs are great, and then they started talking and I'm like, oh my god.
So here's my beef. Like, it's one thing if the humor of two characters singing the thong song doesn't click with me. That's one thing. This tells me that they're writing Sweet Tooth like he's the Joker.
Yeah.
He is, just because he's a clown doesn't make him the fucking Joker. He is a wildly different... He has humor. Like, there's...
But he's like, he doesn't have any humanity left in him.
No, he is not... Like, the joke... Like, a silly writing of the Joker would, be like, I want some music to kill you to when the thong song comes on. That's not Sweet Tooth at all.
No, it's, I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in this, which is disappointing because this is probably the most of Twisted Metal we're gonna get for upwards of maybe 20 years.
And you look at the cast, and it's we got I guess the only other there's a few OCs floating around in there. Neve Campbell is Raven. My boy Mike Mitchell from Doughboys is one of the Hammerhead drivers.
Which, that's good casting.
Yeah, I'll take that. But fuck, dude. Marvel Snap getting a new competitive mode.
Oh boy.
Call of Duty, Path of Exile, Baldur's Gate, Exoprimal.
Lies of P, which we did the trailer for.
Yeah.
Yep, we talked about that.
Netflix's Witcher.
No, don't really care.
Warhammer.
Nicolas Cage and Dead by Daylight.
We talked about that last
yeah.
time. Witchfire. I just want to make sure there's nothing that... Because for all I know, there was something you guys lost your minds at that I don't know the first thing about. But I guess you would have remembered and brought it up by now, huh?
There was they did a RGG sort of direct sort of thing where they just showed more of Like a Dragon Gaiden, and then they also showed some more of Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, which so on board with.
So Like a Dragon is like Yakuza's unlocalized new name, right?
Right, because it was always called that in Japan.
Mhm.
They only called it Yakuza because they thought it would sell better in the West.
Yeah.
And then, so by this point, they tried to merge them with 7 by calling it Yakuza Like a Dragon.
And now it's just Like a
It's just
Dragon.
Like a Dragon, and they've like dropped the numbers over here. It's still called 8 in Japan, but
Mhm.
I think to avoid confusion, they're doing the subtitles in.
I think I'm a little lost because I thought like the main line would become it's Tachibana, Ichiban, Ichiban, and his like JRPG style,
Yeah.
and then the Judgment games would have the. So what's
They're
this?
still doing that.
So what's this new one with Kiryu? What kind of game?
That is a sort of interquel between it's after 6 and sort of during 7 and then leading up to 8.
Okay,
To
all right.
explain how Kiryu is there in 8, because they kind of just dropped that bomb without explaining it.
So this is like his usual gameplay.
Yeah, so
Okay,
he's still
okay.
going to do like brawler stuff, but Like a Dragon from 7 onward, the main titles are all going to be JRPGs,
Mhm.
and then Judgment or whatever other side series they do are going to be the beat 'em ups.
I see. All right.
Was Kiryu in 7 at all? Thought he was,
Yes,
right?
he was he was just a side character though. He was in this one. He's clearly like the
main.
deuteragonist.
Yeah.
But yeah, in 7 he was kind of just like a boss fight and a side character.
Huh.
All right. I guess that about covers Summer Games Fest.
Yep.
No. What else? What else?
There was something I lost my mind at.
What
which
was that?
The
What was that?
Persona 3
Was that-
remake.
Wait, I wasn't aware
yeah.
that was at Games Fest. I thought it was leaked
It
on
was
X.
at the Xbox showcase.
Oh.
But it was leaked beforehand, along with the Persona 5 Tactics game that I don't really give a shit about.
Mhm.
God, man, I've been asking for it for so long, and we're finally getting a Persona 3 remake, but they're doing some things that I don't agree with.
I heard there's some troubling caveats.
There are some troubling caveats because for some fucking reason Atlas didn't want to make a definitive version of Persona 3, so it's going to have like the quality of life improvements from both portable and FES, but it's not going to have the answer from FES, and it's not going to have the female protagonist from portable. So you're still kind of left with not the definitive Persona 3, but like, it having the Persona 5 style and mechanics and gameplay is still great. I'm still going to love this, and it might still end up being my favorite Persona game. Like I said, Persona 3 Remake would be, just because of the story alone. But I am still very peeved that they're missing out on, like, the answer, which was such a big thing for, like, the story, showing what happened after, and the female protagonist, which is just such a hugely popular character, more popular than, like, any of the protagonists from Persona 1 or 2, even though she's just in this PSP game. Just seems completely nonsensical to drop her. And obviously I'm sure she's going to get like modded in on the PC, but outside of that, I don't like that they're replacing the whole voice cast in English. It's the same voice cast in Japanese, but in English they just like cleared everybody out and replaced.
Do you think it's... I know there's a lot of union shit going on with like dubs lately. Do you think it's something to do with that?
It could be, unless Will, if you know if any of those voice actors are like unioned.
I don't. Yeah, but at the same time, I don't know. And again, I don't know if like the entire Persona 3 cast went union, like the original one.
That doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it does seem like they wanted a fresh start. I could completely understand replacing like Vic, but there are going to be some voices that are going to be very sorely missed.
Yeah, like Junpei and Aigis' voice actors had some bad controversies in recent years, and I totally understand replacing them. But outside of that, I would think it was really just those two, and Yuri Lowenthal's are really going to be missed. And
Yeah.
I think Tara Platt was Mitsuru. It's a shame. Because I'm just so used to those voice actors from playing all of the other versions.
Well, and they were impeccable.
They were great.
Animated characters are their voices.
Yeah.
And it's like when you just have like a change for no... It's like your parents are like, you're not my parents. What are you talking
Still, it looks like a stunning game. I mean, it is presented so well. The gameplay is phenomenal from what I can tell. They aren't like overhauling the dungeons like people thought they were. Like Tartarus is still going to be Tartarus, but it's going to be more fun to explore. By the way, I'm looking forward to it seriously, but it's a real shame that Atlas is pulling an Atlas on some of those.
And I hear were you telling me about some quality of life stuff, Will?
That was like what Dad was saying about like the answer and.
Okay, all right. I see. Okay, well, I mean, I might make this like my foray into Persona 3 as well. I mean, is it
Might as well.
late this year? Early next
Early
year?
2024.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
Probably like February, March or something. It looks like it's pretty much close to finished. They have a lot polished up, but I imagine it's going to be a lot of like localizing and stuff so they can release them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
There was some news at the Annecy Film Festival. What sucks is people aren't as plugged into that. I don't have quite as handy-dandy a guide to the big announcements. Batman Azteca was announced by Warner, which is like, this fucking looks cool as shit. It's like an Aztec Batman. He looks cool as hell.
Oh, that does
Is
look
it
cool.
kind of like what they were going for with Batman Ninja?
I take it that way, yes. I know, let's see, or was Batman, or was it at the festival to mark the occasion? Subject here. The history of. I'm not super clear on that. If they screened it at the festival or if it was announced there. Oh no, it was screened there. Okay, so we should be getting it soon, I suppose.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, okay. That, like I said, I just don't have. I guess the big takeaways I remember seeing is that Pixar had a teaser for Elio, their next movie about a little boy who goes to space. Which, as long as we're not putting googly eyes on inanimate objects and making them have a bureaucracy, I'm more open to the more human shit, even if their track record isn't impeccable lately.
Hey, I'll give it a chance.
Do you see the trailer for that, perchance?
I don't think so.
It's not. There's going to be a bigger. It's not till next year. There's going to be a bigger one. It'll be fine. And I think DreamWorks announced they're working with Charlie Kaufman on a film for Netflix. So that's the guy who wrote I'm Thinking of Ending Things and a couple other things. I mean, if that's what, like, DreamWorks is taking these big swings lately, if they're going to make something, like, dark and a little messed up, and Netflix hosting fucking, like, Wendell and Wild and, like, you know, animated films that aren't for kids but aren't, like, a good blood and gore sex animated film. They're happy to have just like the calm middle ground. I'm kind of open to that idea.
There's a lot of potential. There's a big niche there for that sort of middle ground that just hasn't really been filled lately. It feels like everything's either just shock value gore or completely for babies.
I wish I had a more complete list of the announcements, but all these articles are covering what was screened there. And
I mean, we could go to the Nintendo Direct news.
Well, there's also Netflix Tudum to do. Which is their
thing? Oh,
it's their press.
Yeah.
They call it Netflix Tudum. Kind of cute. Fuck Netflix though. But you know, things that are in our orbit were there, like the One Piece trailer. Oh, so a lot of people were like, "Guys, it's not so bad," but
yeah,
I'm just not.
Conceptually, it is. It doesn't work as a concept.
No. I don't love. I guess it's like when I saw Nami, and it's like she has 1-to-1 her outfit from the show and precisely her hair from the show, and it's like, yeah, that's what that would look like in live action, I guess.
But there's just a very hard ceiling at like a 6 out of 10 for the best this could possibly be, and that's like if they absolutely make a masterpiece, because it's still live action One Piece.
Stupid.
It doesn't work.
And here, okay, and now people are getting at each other's throats because some people watched the trailer and they were like, uh-oh, MCU humor. Here's the thing. And it's like, and part of it is Luffy noticing Zoro and Nami don't get along and saying, I'm sensing some tension among the crew. And then people are rushing in like, no, that's in character for Luffy. In character for Luffy is to have one brain cell bounced around your head like it's a DVD screensaver. He's not apt enough to even notice that Zoro and Nami are, like, failing to get along at all. I don't think that's his. That's not something I could, like, read with his voice.
It's gonna be the new Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah. Welcome to the ouch, motherfuckers? Man. Okay, and like people are making fuss about like there was humor before the MCU, why is it MCU humor? All I want to point out, Google this, folks at home, is my favorite behind-the-scenes artifact
The whiteboard.
of all time is the Workaholics band joke whiteboard, where they just had a list where every time someone pitched a line, they would, and it was like too schlocky, it was added to the board, and it's not allowed in the show. And it's this big whiteboard with a list that says, "That's what she said. Check, please. He's right behind me, isn't he?" Ruh-roh. And by blank, I mean like all that shit we're sick of. That whiteboard needs to be in every fucking writer's room.
Yeah.
Because I don't care if you call it MCU humor or whatever, it's just not... It is clearly a trend and it's not good. Yeah. I'm sick of Luffy talking like a fucking Dilbert comic. What's Nami's attitude? No, fuck off. No.
Not my Luffy.
Not my Luffy. Gal Gadot isn't a thing.
Gal Gadot's getting a star in the Walk of Fame, I think, for some reason.
There's so many.
You can pay for one.
You can?
Yeah.
That's like world records. Like world records are all paid for.
Yeah.
Really?
The Guinness Book of World Records are all paid for.
Like you have to pay $10,000 to even like come out.
I'd like to talk about something a little more cheerful if we can. Anyway, we got a teaser for Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I think
time is a flat fucking circle.
The showrunners walked away from that one. There's no way. It's. I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Shyamalan one. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as good as the original.
No.
I think kind of like what you said about One Piece. On concept alone, it can only be a 6 out of 10 max.
Yeah.
Shit about Squid Game.
Like season 2 and the game show that they're running.
It's just fucking insane. Like that's literally like showing Joan is Afraid and then actually doing it.
Joan is awful.
Yeah, Joan is awful. I keep confusing it with Beau is Afraid.
Man. Okay, well, I never saw this headline before, and I need you to hear it.
Okay.
I'm just going to read it word for word. The Archies is a different take on Riverdale. The new movie takes the iconic series and moves it to 1960s India. And based on the new trailer, it looks like it'll be a blast.
I'm truly speechless. Is it like being produced by like an Indian team, or is it like American produced?
I can't tell.
Because if it's American produced, that is like I can't even begin to fathom where that idea came from. If it's produced like...
If it's like people in India who love Riverdale and are just doing it there.
I would trust that.
Yeah. Let me see. The Archies, Netflix.
It was directed
I can't believe
Uli.
Netflix, The Archies.
Archie.
Okay, this takes us to the Nintendo Direct. Pretty fucking packed Direct, I would say.
Yes.
The last couple before this one were kind of...
Just like not Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is coming.
Yeah. And towards the end, they were just like, hey, thanks for buying Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, they really were.
Alright, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC, I'm kind of just past it, even as someone who liked that game.
It doesn't really look exciting.
It didn't really pull me back. Sonic Superstars again. Persona 5 Tactica. I'm sick of seeing those fucking kids in everything.
It's like worse than Persona 4 at this point.
Honestly, it is.
It was milked.
Super Mario RPG trailer. Okay.
Awesome. I've never played Super Mario RPG, always wanted to, because, despite people saying that Geno fans are like the spawn of Satan, I think Geno looks cool, and I'm looking forward to experiencing him.
The art style is pitch perfect.
Oh, yeah.
I love how they translate. We got like a little scrunched down Bowser.
And we're gonna get music done by the original person, but orchestral. I can't wait to hear fucking da 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 da.
Or I'm all about no, not beep boop boop bop. I'm all about fucking da 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 da. Beep! Boop boop bop!
I'm excited for that too. I loved Paper Mario. I played that earlier this year and was always reluctant to go back to the original Super Mario RPG because that, it doesn't look like it aged super gracefully, but also not terribly. But I mean, this is a great excuse to just jump into it. So.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll retain it all.
Looks very faithful.
Yeah. Detective Pikachu's finally getting a trailer. Or a sequel, sorry. The game, that is, not the film.
Well, this was a weird one, because it was kind of like Bayonetta 3, where they announced it years ago and had nothing to show for it, and now it's just out of nowhere. Here it is.
I'm still waiting on the Netflix show, the Pokemon Concierge Netflix show. Is it like a game where you run around solving mysteries? Like, there's not actual, like, battle in it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, well, Professor Layton, I guess.
That just really doesn't sound interesting to me.
Peach is going to star in a game next year.
Cool.
Which, I'm open to that. I guess this is the confirmation the Switch is sticking around for at least another year.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about that.
Do we think it's getting put out to pasture, like holiday next year?
I think so.
They cannot drag this out much longer. Tears of the Kingdom struggled. They can't do too much more with it.
I think it'll be like, we get the Peach game next year,
it might be like a thing where like it's for the Switch and the next console too.
I could see that.
They did that with Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're going to reserve that for Odyssey 2. That is probably why we haven't seen anything of that yet, because they're going to announce it alongside the new system.
Mm-hmm. I'm sick of mentioning Donkey Kong in my copium for it. But next year is his 30th birthday. Maybe
Booster Course 6 for Mario Kart, people were thinking that's going to be Donkey Kong themed and have Donkey Kong characters.
Because there's 2 spots left. It could be like Pauline and Diddy.
Or Funky and Diddy.
Or Funky and Diddy, yeah. I don't know if they're going to snub Pauline, though.
True.
She is kind of included in a lot of stuff lately.
But Pauline is still, like, Donkey Kong related, kind of.
Yeah, she's the, mayor of New Donk City.
Yeah. Dragon Quest Monsters?
I don't care.
I never played that, but I know some people got nostalgia for Monsters.
Pikmin 4. I'll be there. Okay, and then the last announcement was... Oh, no, this is a little bit out of order.
It is pretty out of order.
Well, okay, so... should we just talk about Wonder now anyway?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Super excited.
Phenomenal.
Playable fucking Daisy. Finally, they realized that people like Daisy, and I am people.
Man, so Will knows this. I don't know if you know. I have I would probably call the new Super Mario Brothers games some of my least favorite games ever. And if they were bland, that was it. I could just be like, all right, see ya. But every kid I ever babysat had those fucking games. So I have a fiery hatred for those. So seeing them style on it in the most beautiful way possible, it's this is what I needed.
Yeah, I loved the original New Super Mario Brothers on the DS. By the time Wii came out, I was already burnt out on that style, and they just kept doing it. And I tried to play U Deluxe a couple months ago, and I just couldn't. It was always boring.
You get the fucking propeller cap, and you go, I don't give a shit.
It's so lame. God, this, I guess Nintendo must be listening somehow, because this looks like everything, just all the feedback, completely
Beautiful.
listened to.
It's watercolory, and they kind of resemble their old hand-drawn designs. And
Mario's got expressions as he runs.
He goes, wowie zowie!
As he turns into an elephant.
But, it feels like the Mario discourse has been dominated lately by, there's set rules that Mario can only do this, and you can only do this with enemies, and that's why Paper Mario has been bad, and that's why the sports games have been kind of bad. And Nintendo's just been here's 2 releases that show that's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
And we have 2 really good-looking games with very distinct styles, and are the most I've been excited for a Mario, in ages.
It's Mario time.
Yeah.
I still wish they learned their lesson before they ruined Strikers.
Yeah, that's true. Man,
Dark Moon, baby.
And we're getting a new... Why is there a second WarioWare for this console, and not one fucking Donkey Kong?
Because to get it together was kind of... it wasn't a traditional WarioWare.
It was a little weird,
a little platformy, and this one is more like the Wii one.
I just know that there are people who would buy the Wario games and who played the Get It Together demo and were I don't need this. And that was depressing to hear. Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Metal Gear Solid Master Collection.
Oh yeah, cool.
And the Batman Arkham Collection too.
This is the guy that's gonna run at to a millisecond.
And Penny's Big Breakaway from the Sonic Mania team.
That looks kind of good, actually.
Kind of cute.
I might get it, like, if it's on sale or something.
Yeah, I like yo-yos. Alright, I think that's all the big events. I think that just leaves the trailer for Craven Moorhead.
Yeah, I just, like, I mean, it's hard because I like to look at these movies from, like, if you are going to make Craven a good guy, like, this is, like, how do you do it? But I'm just, like, so exhausted that, like, I kind of don't care. Like, I feel like it could definitely... No, it couldn't. There's no way this movie's going to be good.
I mean, it's got that R rating, right?
I think so, yeah.
That actually didn't look bad.
Okay, that's got me a bit more hopeful.
It's nice that they're listening to some of the feedback in that department. But I think the biggest feedback they should be listening to is why the fuck isn't Spider-Man in these? What's the point in watching these villains do their thing without a
They're
Spider-Man
gonna be
to fight?
the Sinister Six. I love everyone, you included, are making shit posts of the Sinister Six meeting up. Like, I think there's one where it's like, Morbius steps into frame. We are Venom. Nah, I'm just kidding. Venom steps into frame. Oh, did you? That's my thing.
I'm pretty sure the leaked Craven script kind of ends with them meeting up with Morbius and Vulture as they're like robbing a bank or something.
I can't believe they're still going in with more. No, I can. They took the wrong lesson.
Yeah.
God, we are in such a hellscape.
These are like Venom. I always wanted to see that version of Venom on the big screen, but I wanted to see him fighting Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Aren't there whispers of something where it's like Venom is gonna meet up with like a leak or something?
It has to. There's no way. Like, if Sony didn't have plans to like actually have Spider-Man meet up with these guys at some point, they would have stopped after Morbius.
Right.
There's no reason they would have continued this.
Well, isn't El Muerto like canceled?
Yeah, that's true.
It's in like development hell. The lead actor they had stepped out. I'm not sure if it's completely canceled though. But
and then Madam Web is supposed to come next year.
Is that part of the Sony thing, or was that?
I was under the impression it was. I could be wrong.
Yeah. This is like. It's insane. It's like it should be a crime how much they've made this uninteresting.
Yeah.
And they're still going forward with it. But if they by some miracle turn this into something great, then that's nice. But I just don't see it.
I was surprised to see the Rhino in there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a suit.
Yeah.
It's not a Paul Giamatti.
Rhino, because it's grafted, the suit's grafted to his skin. He can't like take it off and pee.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to like release himself wherever he is.
Mm-hmm. He's gonna piss. He's gonna sink in the piss, not piss in the sink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up?
Nope.
Dark Moon, baby.
Well, my wallpaper is still Anna Kendrick, and I'm Tommy.
My wallpaper currently is a really cool edit that someone did of some Bionicles, and I'm Will.
My wallpaper is Okabe's from Steins Gate. I'm Dav, and I have diabetes. So
we almost went an episode.
So no, we're not going to break the chain.
All right. Thank you for listening. See you next time. Good night, everybody.